Hello, my name's Waldo, and I am gonna feel a debate with you tonight. Won't that be fun? The RNC is gonna talk about who's gonna be vice president. I think that's what they're talking about tonight. They're gonna argue with each other about who's gonna be the vice president. So that's gonna be fun. Um, so if you are around, hop into chat, shoot me any links, and help me roast these wieners. That would be fun. Let me see if Thomas is gonna be with us tonight. I don't think he is, but let me double check. I don't see him, but maybe he'll jump in later, or maybe not. I don't know. He didn't say anything. So we got about 4 minutes until they get started, and then even then, it's going to be a few minutes. So uh, I appreciate everybody coming in and saying hi. Look, the terrorist who wrecks my computer on a regular basis. Hello, terrorist.
Terrorism.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they call me uh, terrorist.
Brilliant. Excellent. Thank you.
You see Goddard?
Did I see what?
Goddard.
I don't know what that is. Are
He's
you?
on Firefox.
No idea what you're talking about, dude. Oh, the amazing drawing that you did? Yes,
I
it's awful. Thank you
It's awful.
for being awful. So, if you're here, throw anything you want into chat, and I'll take a look at it. We'll watch these goobers run for vice president. It'll be fun, and you can play slots in the chat. KVP. It's exclamation point slots. Last stream you did a slash, and it didn't work, and then that made you sad. Pop out chat and bring up the. There it is. Sorry, keep trying. You lost 50 points. So, if you would like to have as much fun as KBP, uh, you can chat and get points, and then uh, risk all those very important, very delicious points in a slot machine. Because we're on Kick, so that's what we do, apparently. Slot machine streams. And I've got the screen up. I'm going to try it. I had to go to Rumble, which is a pretty terrible place so far. It's the first time I've ever been there. It's pretty terrible. Here, let me see what's just on their front screen. Let me show you what we're looking at here. Uh, oh yeah, my screen is all jacked up. I don't know why I'm so jacked up. There it is. Well, you can't see it very well, but these are the suggested videos. Some guy quartering who's definitely a piece of shit. Russell Brand, who's a woo-woo piece of shit. Kimberly Guilfoyle, huge piece of shit. Lots of fun over here on Rumble. That right there so that we can watch it. We got a little countdown till the clown show starts. Clown show. Best show. All right. Oh, now you're gambling. You did it, KVP. You won. KVP is the winner. Yay! You've won triple your bet. Oh my god. I'm glad to be enabling all of your newest addictions. It's very fun. It's good. I'm glad I get to be here as you earn your crippling gambling addiction. Okay, let's turn this audio on. Tell me how. Oh, they stopped the music. Or did they? Yeah, it's there. I turned all of them. All right, how's that audio? Okay, good.
Some call it the heartland. Others flyover country. But for the 2024 presidential hopefuls, the Midwest is the place to land. Here there is one battleground that may be harder to win than ever. Wisconsin. A state known for its beer and cheese, gridiron and grit, and also its razor-thin elections. In 2016, Republicans narrowly flipped the Badger State red for the first time since Ronald Reagan.
I know, right?
But it was back to blue by 2020. That election came during an unprecedented year. The country was rife with tension. In the suburbs of Milwaukee, the division seemed deeper than ever.
Milwaukee, flattened to the ground. It's gone. Hasn't come back.
2 years later, the U.S. Supreme Court struck down Roe versus Wade, leaving the legality of abortion up to the states. In Wisconsin, that meant a nearly
Oh, did you hear them
total ban.
cheer? Did you hear the people cheer for that?
That issue drove Democrats to the polls this year. Now, that new thin liberal majority on the court could have that abortion issue before it again, just as the race for the White House accelerates.
So that's what the people of the state want.
Tonight,
Yeah.
the Republican candidates will face off at the home of the Bucks and the Marquette Golden Eagles, hoping to return next July to this city on the shore of Lake Michigan to accept the Republican nomination at their party's national convention.
It's like the Super Bowl.
Tonight, the race for the White House takes flight. Welcome to the first debate of the 2024 presidential campaign, live at Fiserv Forum in Milwaukee.
8 Republican candidates have qualified and have chosen to be here.
Chosen to be here. A little shade right there, isn't it? Throwing some shade at Trump. They're qualified and chosen to be here.
Good
Know what I mean?
everybody. I'm Martha McCallum.
And I'm Brett Baer. This is the very same stage on which the Republican choice for president will accept the party's nomination next summer. The 8 contenders are positioned by the order they sit in the polls, with the highest polling candidates in the middle standing center stage. Florida Governor
except for
Ron
one.
DeSantis.
Asterisk, right?
Next, entrepreneur Vivek Ramaswamy.
Former Vice President Mike Pence.
Former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley.
Former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie.
South Carolina Senator Tim Scott.
Former Arkansas Governor
nobody cheered for
Asa
him.
Hutchinson.
And
Nobody's cheering for him.
Governor Doug Burgum.
He got a few. Poor guys there in the middle.
Some ground
Nobody
rules
cheered for him.
Tonight, we'll ask the questions, and then candidates get 1 minute to answer. If someone is singled out, you get 30 seconds to respond. And when the time runs out, we all will hear this. Very pleasant.
So tonight, these candidates have a big opportunity to break out of the pack and to explain why they are best prepared to be the Republican choice for president. At a
Vice
time when
president.
the likely Democrat nominee, President Joe Biden, is working to
That's what they're
convince
running
the
for.
country that with Bidenomics, things are looking up.
They call my plan Bidenomics. I'm not sure they meant it in a totally complimentary way at the time. But guess what? It's working.
But is it? More than 65% of Americans say the country is headed in the wrong direction. And here's the reality for some voters
VP
we
race
talked
is
to
on,
here in
yeah.
Wisconsin this week.
We have noticed a dramatic increase in prices at the grocery store just across the board.
Gas is high and food is high. A lot of people's out here homeless
high,
because
too.
they can't buy food.
It's tough when you got mortgage
I
rates
was
at
high.
78% versus 2 to 3. It's just you can't afford the house anymore.
Inflation is ridiculous. It's killing us out here.
As we sit here tonight, the #1 song on the Billboard chart is called Rich Men North of Richmond.
That's a
It is by a singer from
No.
Farmville, Virginia, named Oliver Anthony.
that
His
the
lyrics
right-wing
speak
media
of
propped up.
alienation, of
They-
deep frustration.
They
with
put him on
state
the
of government
stage, and they
of
gave him
this
all the stuff
country.
that he needed.
Washington,
and they
D.C.
pushed him real hard.
is about 100 miles north of Richmond.
Richmond was the.
Richmond, north of Richmond, Lord knows they all just wanna have.
Oh, I have to mute it or else they'll fucking DMCA me on YouTube. Sorry, but it's awful. And Richmond was the capital of the Confederacy. You know, there's a little dog whistle in there. He's very upset with the people north of Richmond, capital of the Confederacy, you know?
In this country right now, what do you think it means?
Our country is in decline. This decline is not inevitable, it's a choice. We need to send Joe Biden back to his basement and reverse American decline. And it starts with understanding we must reverse Bidenomics so that middle-class families have a chance to succeed again. We cannot succeed as a country if you are working hard and you can't afford groceries, a car, or a new home, while Hunter Biden can make hundreds
I agree,
of thousands
Shinsuto.
of dollars on
The decline
lousy
started in
paintings.
2016.
That is wrong.
He doesn't want Hunter Biden to buy
We
paintings?
also cannot succeed when
Trump
the
buys paintings all the time.
Congress spends trillions and trillions of dollars. Those rich men north of Richmond have put us in this situation. And finally, we need to lower your gas prices. We're going to open up all energy production. We will be energy dominant again in this country.
I don't think we ever were. I think that's a lie.
Be done in the state of Florida. I pledge to you as your president, we will get the job done, and I will not let you down.
Governor
Weird
Christie,
smile there
you
at the
agree
end.
with Governor DeSantis just said there, and why would you be better on the economy than him?
Well, look, I do agree predominantly with what Governor DeSantis just laid out. I think that if you asked every one of us up here, that we would agree predominantly with what he just laid out. Here's the difference. The difference is that we're going to have to work and make sure that we sell these ideas. And be able to put ourselves in a position where we get a majority of the vote, not only by winning the Congress and the Senate in 24, but also by having someone who's had the experience of doing it. Now,
In the popular vote, maybe.
Was elected
Haven't
as
done
a
that in a while.
conservative Republican in a blue state with 61% of the vote, with a Democratic legislature against me the entire time. And we still, through hard, strong decision making, brought them around to our point of view. We cut taxes in New Jersey. We cut debt in New Jersey. We made sure that each and every time we were confronted with bad Democratic ideas, we stood and stopped them. And when there were good ideas, we brought people together to make progress going
They
forward.
haven't mentioned Papa Trump yet.
Truth and accountability
So hard,
are
so
the
strong.
things we
It's
need
true.
to do to fight waste. And I'd say the last thing is this, Brett.
The name
We
that shit.
cannot
He who
sit
shall not
by
be
any
named.
longer and allow the kind of spending that's going on in Washington, because every dollar they spend is a dollar that these people are not allowed to spend on their children and their grandchildren. It's
I don't
robbing
think that's
our
how
country, and it's wrong.
the economy
Well,
works.
Governor, let
But
me just follow up very quickly. New Jersey, when you were governor, had the second lowest credit rating in the nation after Illinois, and it was downgraded 11
yeah, you're right,
times.
Shinsuto.
Yep.
He
Yeah,
hates those
and-
bad Democrat
and that's
ideas,
what
but
happens
he
when
has
you
no
inherit
ideas.
a blue
Well, they do
state
have ideas, but
that
it's
has done
usually
that.
like
But when you look
anti-trans,
at what we
anti-gay,
did on debt,
anti-Disney
Brett, in
somehow.
that state, we cut debt in that state, debt that had been left to us by 3 Democratic gubernatorial predecessors of mine who ran up that debt tremendously. And what you also saw us do was to cut the unemployment rate in half. It was over 10% when I became governor in 2010. What we also did was cut pension payments to public employees to make sure that taxpayers were not being soaked by a public employee union system that was killing the taxpayer.
Pensions for the people that work for your state.
To
Okay, good
Scott,
idea.
Senator Scott, excuse
There
me.
you go.
The song also goes after welfare programs. As a senator, now
Yeah,
President
because
Biden
they're
argued
terrified
for
of those
freezing
welfare
federal
queens
spending,
driving
this is back
Cadillacs.
in the 80s,
Never
and
existed.
dealing with sacred
Not real.
cows. He does not talk about that anymore. You have been a senator, though, for 10 years. So what have you done to rein in the increasing size of government?
Well, thank you for the question. Over the last several years, I've had an opportunity to vote against spending package after spending package after spending package. What
Honestly, I thought it would be the word Trump, but
understand is that
KVP,
Joe
I thought the drinking
Biden's
game would be
Bidenomics has led
Trump,
to
but
the
he's
loss
not
of
been mentioned yet. Maybe
$10,000
nobody's
of
going to mention him.
spending power for the average family. When you see 16% inflation, your gas is up 40%, your food is up 20%, your electricity is up 20%. We can stop that by turning the spigot off at Washington, sending the money back to the states, and allowing the decisions to be made at their own houses. I helped write the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act in 2017. We cut taxes for a single mom like the one that raised me by 70%, for dual households by 60%, returning to the average family $4,000. If you don't send it to Washington, we can't spend it. That's good news for the American people.
Okay, but just
I mean, it
to
expires
follow up,
later.
During the Trump administration, you approved 4.4 trillion, 4.1 trillion, 1.7 trillion over the course of that administration. That's a lot of money.
There's no doubt that during
That's
the
how the government works.
administration, when we were dealing with the COVID
That's how it's
virus,
supposed to
we
work.
spent more money. But here's what happened at the end of our time in the majority. We had low unemployment, record low unemployment, 3.5% for the majority of the population, 70-year low for women. African Americans, Hispanics, and Asians had an all-time low, but our inflation was at 2%. Under Joe Biden, we've seen the exact opposite. We've seen inflation explode, which led to 12 Federal Reserve increases that's devastating home buyers today.
Mr. Ramaswamy, you're listening to these answers.
If I may, I mean,
hold
that
on one
was
second.
our administration, so I don't know if I get a chance to respond.
Nobody wants to listen to Mike Pence.
We'll be with you in a second, Mr. Vice President. Mr. Ramaswamy,
Nobody wants to talk to Mike
listening to all
Pence.
of this, why should voters choose you over more experienced politicians on this stage? You're basically, a blank slate for people. You're 38 years old. You've said
This guy's
that
just
you only
selling his
voted
book.
in 2
That's all
presidential
he's doing.
elections before this moment, this political race.
So first, let me just address a question that is on everybody's mind at home tonight. Who the heck is this skinny guy with a funny last name, and what the heck is he doing in the middle of this debate stage? I'll tell you, I'm not a politician, Brett. You're right about that. I'm an entrepreneur. My parents came to this country with no money 40 years ago. I have gone on to found multi-billion-dollar companies. I did it while marrying my wife, Apurva, raising our 2 sons, following our faith in God. That is the American dream.
He wants to be KVP, you're right. He wishes he was.
American dream will not exist for our 2 sons and their generation unless we do something about it. And I do think Brett is going to take an outsider, because for a long time we have professional politicians in the Republican Party who have been running from something. Now is our moment to start running to something, to our vision of what it means to be an American today.
He didn't say anything.
Broken car, you don't turn over the keys to the people who broke it again. You hand it over to a new generation to actually fix the problem. That's why I'm in this race, and we're just getting
Oh,
warmed
God,
up.
he's younger than me. Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
So why are you better positioned to turn around this economy that we've heard all of these voters talking about
Nobody wants to
tonight
talk to Mike
than
Pence.
Mr. Ramaswamy, who is a successful entrepreneur nationally right now? He's beating you in the polls.
Well, I don't care about polls. What I care about the fact is that no one is telling the American people the truth. The truth is that Biden didn't do this to us. Our Republicans did this to us, too. When they passed that $2.2 trillion COVID stimulus bill, they left us with 90 million people on Medicaid, 42 million people on food stamps. No one has told you how to fix it. I'll tell you how to fix it. They need to stop the spending. They need to stop the borrowing. They need to eliminate the earmarks that the Republicans brought back in. And they need to make sure they understand these are taxpayer dollars. It's not their dollars. And while they're all saying this, you have Ron DeSantis, you've got Tim Scott, you've got Mike Pence. They all voted to raise the debt. And
How
Donald
dare
Trump
they use the
added
government's
$8
money on the government's
trillion
people.
to our debt. And our kids are never going to forgive us for this. And so at the end of the day, you look at the 2024 budget, Republicans asked for $7.4 billion in earmarks. Democrats asked for $2.8 billion. So you tell me who are the big spenders. I think it's time for an accountant in the White House.
Vice President Pence.
Oh no! You're gonna spend the government money on the citizens. How could they?
54%
Maniacs.
of voters say the cost of groceries is a, quote, major problem for them.
Right.
You blamed the Biden administration spending for that increase. But
Hey,
as
we get to
Vice
talk to Mike
President,
Pence.
your
Okay.
administration spent more than any prior, $7.8 trillion added to the national debt, $3.5 trillion of that before COVID. So does that mean that you're part of the spending problem?
Well, first off, thanks for the question. Thanks for letting me respond to a reference to our administration's record. I'm incredibly proud of the record of the Trump-Pence administration. I mean, in 4 short years, we rebuilt our military.
Kind of ran out of steam there.
We revived our economy. We unleashed American energy. And we appointed 3 conservatives to the Supreme Court that gave the American people a new beginning for the right to life. Now,
Ugh.
Martha, you asked earlier who's the most best prepared
Caused chaos.
for this job. And I must say, with all due respect to all
They
of
got
my
rid
friends
of
on the
Roe
stage,
versus Wade. That caused
and even to
chaos.
one that's probably looking on. I think unquestionably I am the best prepared, the most tested, the most qualified and proven conservative in this race. I was a leader in the Congress of the United States. I led Indiana where we balanced budgets and had a AAA bond rating when I was governor. And as Vice President of the United States, we spent funding to backfill on the military cuts of the Obama administration, and then we were there in the worst pandemic in 100 years. All that being said, I was the first person in this race to say that we've got to deal with the long-term national debt issues. You got people on this stage that won't even talk about issues like Social Security and Medicare. I mean, Vivek, you recently said
he would cut them.
president can't
That's
do
a bad
everything.
idea.
Well, I got news for you, Vivek. I've been in the hallway. I've been in the West Wing. A president of the United States has to confront every crisis facing America. I will put our nation back on the path to growth and prosperity and restore fiscal responsibility, just as I did in Congress and as governor.
No more
and when I
taxing
was
rich
vice
people
president.
to give to poor people. No more of that. Got to get rid of that.
Earlier, I'm going to get Vivek first.
We'll get to both of
Yeah,
them.
this isn't that complicated, guys. Unlock American energy. Drill, frack, burn coal, embrace nuclear. Put people back to work by no longer
He says
paying
during
them
the
more to
hottest
stay at
summer
home.
ever.
Reform the U.S. Fed, stabilize the U.S. dollar, and go to war. The only war that I will declare as U.S. president will be the war on the federal administrative state that is the source of those toxic regulations.
They hate
acting
those
like a wet
administrative
blanket on the
states. They
economy.
hate
So
them.
I'm not sure I exactly understood Mike Pence's comment, but I'll let you all parse that out.
Right.
For me, it's pretty simple. That's something a U.S. president can do with focus, and I'll deliver on it.
Right, just
Let me
just
explain it to you,
burn
Vivek,
everything.
if I can.
Burn it all down.
I'll go slower this time.
I sometimes struggle with the reading
Look,
comprehension.
I was a House conservative leader before it was cool. I actually pushed a Deficit Reduction Act. That was the last time we actually reduced the national debt in the United States when I was the leader of House conservatives. I balanced budgets and cut taxes when I was governor. I mean, look, Joe Biden has weakened this country at home and abroad. Now is not the time for on-the-job training. We don't need to bring in a rookie. We don't need to bring in people without
Oh
experience.
no.
We need to bring
The drama, you guys. The drama llamas.
When you have a rebuttal, okay? And you are up, Governor DeSantis.
So here's the thing. Why are we in this mess? Part of it, and a major reason, is because how this federal government handled COVID-19 by locking down this economy. It was
Yes. That was a good idea.
And in Florida, we led the country out of lockdown. We kept
Right,
our
and
state free.
I think they
and
had more
open.
deaths
And
because
I
of
can
it,
tell
too.
you this, as your president, I will never let the deep state bureaucrats lock you down.
The deep state.
You don't take somebody like Fauci and coddle him. You bring Fauci in, you sit him down, and you say, Anthony, you are fired.
He's going after Fauci in the deep state.
You know what? We're going to bring in...
I just want to finish responding to Mike. I just want to respond to Mike for 1 second because he invoked me back. Listen, now that everybody's gotten their memorized, pre-prepared slogans out of the way, we can actually have a real discussion now. The reality and the fact of the matter is...
Was that one of yours?
Not really, Mike, actually. We're just going to have some fun tonight. And the reality is, you have a bunch of people, professional politicians, super PAC puppets, following slogans handed over to them by
Super
their
PAC
400 fake
puppets. I
super
like that.
PACs
That's pretty
last
good.
week. The real choice we face in this primary is this. Do you want a super PAC puppet, or do you want a patriot who speaks the truth? Do you want incremental reform, which is what you're hearing about, or do you want revolution?
Okay.
And I
Oh,
stand
no.
on the side
Revolution.
of the American
He's coming for you.
revolution rather than the
American Revolution, folks. He's coming for you.
A moment on the economy.
That administrative deep state with a revolution. 1776, folks. It's coming for you.
We have not heard from yet, so let's hear from Governor Burgum and then from Governor Hutchinson on the economy.
Oh, these guys on the end.
Thank you, Martha. And
Who's
of course,
that?
I'm from a town of 300 people. It's a big deal to make it on this stage with all these folks. But when they were all wishing me well, and I think I took them a little too literally when they said go to Milwaukee and break a leg. So, but I do want to say on this, we're missing something. We can't just talk about the Biden economy because the economy, energy, and national security are all tied together. Of course, we're paying too much for our energy in our state in our country right now. But part of the reason why is because of the Biden policies on energy. We've got a plan right now, the $1.2 trillion of Green New Deal spending buried in the Inflation Creation Act is something that is just subsidizing China. If we're going to stop buying oil from the Middle East and start buying batteries from China, we're just trading OPEC for Sinopec. And then belatedly,
You could build something
the
here
Biden
with that,
administration
maybe.
says,
But
no,
no.
we're going to put sanctions on Russian oil.
Only oil.
Well, we
Only
put
oil.
sanctions on
Only
Russian
oil.
oil. Well, then it's 20% off. Who's buying it? China.
Only
so
oil.
if you buy a battery in this country, you buy a solar panel, it's being produced in a plant in China powered by coal, or it's being powered by oil and
You
gas.
buy anything
20%
built in
off,
it.
and
You
every
buy
farmer
anything in
in
this country
would
was
like
built
to
in
buy
China.
diesel at
What is he
20%
on
off,
about?
just like they're buying it in China.
Governor Hutchinson.
Bet my cup was built in China. I bet it was. Buy anything around here was built in China.
Be here tonight, and let me just tell you that I'm a pro-life governor from a conservative state that have a conservative record in which I lowered taxes in Arkansas as governor. I created a $2 billion surplus that I passed over to my successor, and I made sure that we shrunk the size of government. We have 14% fewer state employees in Arkansas after I left government than when I took over as governor 8 years ago. I tell that because that's what we need in Washington, D.C. We need somebody who can actually constrain the growth of the federal government, that can actually reduce the size, and I've pledged to reduce by 10% our federal non-defense workforce. That's
How does
a
that help?
specific pledge to make
Less
that
people to
attacks
do the work.
administrative state.
This
And let me
administrative
applaud
state that
some
they're
of
all
the
obsessed
business
with.
partners that are here
It's just people
that
doing a
have had
job.
success in business. But let me tell you, I've been a federal prosecutor. I've served our country
think
in
this guy
terms
paid
of being
people for
head
their
of the
votes.
DEA, in
I
Homeland
think I
Security,
remember
in times of
reading
crisis.
something about that.
And while I
Could
think
be wrong,
that
though.
that's experience that is important for the future of our country, to be the president of the United States that can lead with positive solutions and be held accountable.
Thank you. We have a
Yeah,
lot of
text
topics
for
to
pay
get to, and
campaign.
I promise we're going
They
to
got
get to
Asa
everyone
Hutchinson. Yeah,
if we play within the
he
rules.
paid a bunch of
Okay,
people
next
to
topic.
like
More
support
than
him,
1,000 people
so that he could be
are
on the
still
stage and say
unaccounted
that.
for in Maui. After the deadliest U.S. wildfire in more than a century, Hawaii's governor and White House officials said that climate change amplified the cost of
Climate
human
change is
error.
real. Yeah.
And a tropical storm hit California for the first time in 84 years. The
Mhm.
ocean hit
Climate change,
101
it's real.
degrees off the coast of Florida. And in the last month, the heat wave in the Southwest broke records nearly 50 years old.
So
Mm-hmm.
Alexander Diaz from Young America's Foundation has a question for you all.
Polls consistently show that young people's #1 issue is climate change. How will you, as both president of
That's
the
right,
United
Roxer.
States and
The,
leader of the Republican Party,
Republicans love
calm
to
their
strangle
fears that
federal
the
agencies,
Republican
and
Party
then
doesn't
people wonder
care
why the
about
federal
climate
agencies
change?
perform so poorly.
So
You're
we
right.
want to start on this with a show
Get rid of all the people
hands.
and then complain
Do
that
you
the government doesn't
believe
work.
in human behavior is causing climate change? Raise your hand if you do.
Look, we're not school children. Let's have the
Oh.
debate. I mean, I'm happy to take it.
He's going to say no.
Alexander, so do you want to raise your hand or not?
Oh, no hand raising.
That's what
We're
we
not
do. So
children.
let me just say to Alexander this. First of all, One of the reasons our country's decline is because of the way the corporate media treats Republicans versus Democrats. Biden was on the beach while those people were suffering. He was asked about it. He said, no comment. Are you kidding me? As somebody that's handled disasters in Florida, you got to be activated. You've got to be there. You've got to be present. You've got to be helping people who are doing this.
The president should just...
So is that a yes or is that a yes? Is that a hand raise?
You do not...
I think it was a hand raise for him, and it's my hands are in my pockets.
No,
because
no,
the climate change agenda is a hoax. Let us be
climate change is a hoax. Oh, no. It's a
I'm
hoax,
the only person on the stage who isn't bought and paid for, so I can say this. The climate change agenda is a hoax.
Yeah, the meatball is on tonight.
The climate change agenda is a hoax.
Oh, no. Boo.
And the reality is, the anti-carbon agenda is the wet blanket on our economy. And so the reality is, more people are dying of bad climate change policies than they are of actual climate change.
He says during the warmest and hottest summer in the history of the world.
Hold on. I've had enough. I've had enough already tonight of a guy who sounds like ChatGPT standing up here.
Those damn kids in the computers.
In one of these debates, Brett, who stood in the middle of the stage and said, "What's a skinny guy with an odd last name doing up here?" was Barack Obama, and I'm afraid we're dealing with the same type of amateur standing on stage tonight.
Give me a hug just like you did to Obama.
The same type of amateur.
And you'll help elect me just like you did to Obama, too. Give me that
the same type of amateur.
Hold on. Governor Haley, would you like to respond? Are you bought and paid for?
What I would like to say is the fact that I think this is exactly why Margaret Thatcher said, if you want something said, ask a man. If you want something done, ask a woman.
Yeah, nobody watches the Democrats debates because they're too polite and nice.
We do care about clean
respectful.
air, clean water. We want to see that taken care of, but there's a right way to do it. And the right way to do it is, first of all, yes, is climate change real? Yes, it is. But if you want to go and really change
oh my gosh, you said yes. Oh, we can't elect her now.
Telling China and India that they have to lower their emissions. That's where our
oh, so that makes sense. If they won't do it, then we don't have to. Brilliant.
All he's done is help China because he doesn't understand all these
and even
electric
if they did,
vehicles that he's done. What
if
that
Bangladesh didn't,
then
well, we can't.
Vehicles
you know?
are made in China.
Excuses.
And so that's not helping the environment. You're putting money in China's
yeah,
pocket.
it's real, but it's not our fault. You're right.
So first of all, I think we need to acknowledge the truth, which is these subsidies are not working. We also need to take on the international world and say, okay, India and China, you've got to stop polluting, and that's when we'll start to deal with
Senator Scott, are you bought and paid for?
Absolutely.
Are you bought and paid for?
I'm sorry?
Are you bought and paid
Absolutely not. I mean, here's what the American people deserve is a debate about the issues that affect their lives.
Like climate change.
Going back and forth, being childish is not helpful to the American people to decide on the next leader of our country. Number one, wait a second. Number two, as a kid who grew up in a single-parent household mired in poverty, I wondered, was the American
are you bought and paid for by the climate lobby? Is what he was getting at. Because Ramaswamy was like, hey, yeah, you're bought and paid for.
I came to the conclusion that America can do for anyone what she's done for me if we focus on restoring hope, creating opportunities, and protecting America. If we want the environment to be better, and we all do, the best thing to do is to bring our jobs home from China. If we create 10 million new jobs in my Made in America plan, we will have a better economy and a better environment. Let me tell you why I say that, Brett. America,
do it quickly.
America has cut. I'm a Southern boy, I talk slow. So America
dinged him twice. Oh no, double dinged.
That was quick. America has cut our carbon footprint in half in the last 25 years.
Good, do it again.
Places where they are continuing to increase, Africa, 950 million people. India, over 1 billion. China, over 1 billion. Why would we put ourselves at a disadvantage? Devastating our own economy. Let's bring our jobs home.
We have a lot of different topics.
Bring the manufacturing jobs back.
Thank you all. Thank you, Senator Scott. So coming up
it's not going to happen.
The candidates will weigh in on what could
that
be
increases
the
the
in the 2024
cost
campaign. The first
for the
Republican
companies.
Debate continues moments away.
We have to watch commercials. Oh God, what kind of commercials are we going to get on Rumble? It's a lot of white people.
We've got to be a lot smarter in how we talk about women and how we show them that we care.
We're going to stand up for the unborn in Washington, D.C. And if you cannot do that, you should not be the nominee for the Republican Party. This is a defining moment.
Do you trust our government and where the economy is heading?
No, sir. Tell me more.
Does losing your hard-earned retirement savings to DC's reckless spending scare the heck out of you?
Scared the heck.
Well,
Yeah.
you're not alone. Smart Americans are taking action while they still can by reaching out to Birch Gold Group. For over 20
Buy
years,
gold.
Birch
Oh,
Gold has
the
helped
gold
concerned
shield.
Americans protect their futures
My
by
man.
moving part of an
Oh,
existing IRA
this is so
or
good.
401k into a
Don't,
physical gold IRA.
Don't gold buy. Yeah, I know, right? You can't trust those dollars. You should buy gold, because that will it's shiny, you guys. That's how you know it works. That's how you know it's real, because it's shiny. I think I got a dollar around here. The dollars are not shiny. I'm just saying. Right in your backyard. That increases the value. Very important. Let's see what we. Well, we got.
Have access that most won't. Text 80810 to get your limited edition card today.
Gear up for debate season with the
You can sign up to be a Republican card member? Like, that's weird. That's disturbing. What do we got? We got be more debate, so you can win and go. God, why do I want to go? Everybody in chat, salute.
Of the United States of America.
You're looking at the World Trade Center. We understand that a plane.
They're trying to sell you coffee. I want you to think about that. They're trying to sell you coffee. It's probably grown in Colombia. They grinded up Colombian kids to put in that coffee? Maybe. Coffee.
Rumble has to be a place that
Oh,
welcomes
no.
everybody, where you feel free to be who you are, where you respect another person's freedom in exchange for your own freedom for being respected. I believe that ultimately and fundamentally, we can do this together without top-down authority, that we can regulate democratically our own community.
Regulate democratically.
You can be you, I can be me, without judgment. Beyond
And without getting
acceptance,
banned for
love,
being
and
anti-COVID
enthusiasm
vaccines,
For the
you
billions
know?
of ways that it's possible to be a human being.
It's time to break free of YouTube and their terrible censorship, where they
thought
tell
of-
you can't talk shit about the COVID vaccines. And we get another gold ad. God, this is a 2-hour-long debate, and we got 10 minutes of gold ads. It's pretty great. You know, you wouldn't. So you have to buy gold, because that's real money. Yeah, this Rumble stuff is nuts. I agree, KBP. This is something else. This is the first time I've ever been at the site. And over here on the right, we got a bunch of very cool guys who I don't want to watch. Okay, the show's back on. Done with commercials.
Abortion has been a losing issue for Republicans since the Dobbs decision.
Yeah,
In
it has.
6 state referendums, all have upheld abortion rights in this country. And even in red states, there are more swing state referendums that are coming up as we head into the elections as well on this. So, Governor Haley, what do you say to your party and to your state, which today confirmed a 6-week abortion law as well,
Oh, God.
especially the impact on women suburban voters across this country?
Thank you, Martha. I am unapologetically pro-life, not because the Republican Party tells me to be, But because my husband was adopted and I had trouble having both of my children,
And they're
going
to force that on you. So have fun,
Having
guys
said that,
and girls in
we
chat.
need to
They're going to
stop
force this on you.
demonizing this issue. This is talking about the fact that unelected justices didn't need to decide something this personal, because it's personal for every woman and man. Now it's been put in the hands of the people. That's great. When it comes to a federal ban,
They don't like
let's
your
be honest
plan.
with the American people and say it will take 60 Senate votes. It will take a majority of the House. So in order to do that, let's find consensus. Can't we all agree that we should ban late-term abortions?
No, we can't all agree on that. That's why it's still up in the air, you dork.
Can't we all agree that doctors and nurses who don't believe in abortion shouldn't have to perform them? Can't we all agree that contraception should be available? And can't we all agree
your party
that
doesn't
we are
want
not
that.
going to put a woman in jail or give her the death penalty if she gets an abortion?
Your
Let's
party
treat
wants
this
those
like
things.
like a respectful issue that it is, and humanize the situation and stop demonizing the situation.
Brett.
Governor, hold on. You're not mentioned, Vice President Pence. Governor DeSantis,
Those are all
you signed a 6-week abortion ban
gray
in
area
Florida.
positions that she
One
has
of your
there.
biggest
Some
financial
people are for them,
backers
some people are
said
against them.
that you
It's
need
not like
to, quote,
there's
shift to get
a specific
moderates or
agreement.
you will lose. What do you say to him and others who say politically that is a tough thing to sell nationally?
Well, I would say we sold the biggest election landslide victory in the history of the Republican Party in the state of Florida in 2022. That's what I did. We can win. But second of all, look, you got to do what you think is right. I believe in a culture of life. I was proud to sign the heartbeat
That's fine
bill.
for you. Why are you forcing it on other people who don't agree with you?
Was when I heard the
He doesn't care.
heartbeat of my oldest daughter in my wife's womb, and then saw the sonograms of all 3 of my kids. What the Democrats are
It made
trying
him
to
happy,
do
so he's going to make that
on
choice
this
for you.
issue is wrong
Very
to
important.
allow abortion all the way up to the moment of birth. I know a lady in Florida named Penny. She survived multiple abortion attempts. She was left discarded in a pan. Fortunately, her grandmother saved her and brought her to a different hospital. We're better than what the Democrats are selling. We are not going to allow
I don't believe
abortion
it.
all the way
I don't
up
believe
till
him.
birth.
I think he's a
and
liar.
we will hold them accountable for their extremism.
But just to be clear, Governor, would you sign a 6-week ban federally?
I'm going to stand on the side of life. Look, I understand Wisconsin
yes,
is
he
going
would.
to do it different than Texas. I
Pan
understand
baby.
Iowa
That's right.
and New Hampshire are going to do
Her name is
different.
Penny, and I think
But
they really
will
missed a
support
spot. What do we
the
name the
cause of
pan
life
baby?
as governor
We can't name her
and as
Panny.
president.
That doesn't work.
Pence, you're shaking your head.
Have a
Hold on, Senator. Vice President Pence. You're shaking your head.
Well, look, I'm not new to this cause.
Sorry, I'm running names through my head.
After I gave
of
my
pan
life to
baby.
Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior, I opened up the book and I read, "Before I formed you in the womb, I
Skillet.
knew you. And see, I set before you life and death, blessings and curses. Now choose life." And I knew from that moment on the cause of life had to be my cause. And I've been a champion for life in the Congress, a champion for life as governor and as vice president. And to be
I
honest
agree.
with you, Nikki,
It is
you're
very
my
cringe.
friend, but
He hasn't said
consensus
anything
is
yet.
the opposite of leadership. When the
Consensus is the
Supreme Court
opposite of
returned this
leadership?
question
This guy's a
to the American
lunatic.
people, they didn't just send it to the states only.
Do as I say,
It's not a
whether you like it or not.
states-only issue. It's a
No, I
moral
won't meet you in the
issue.
middle. I refuse
And
to
I
meet you in the
promise
middle.
as President
Consensus
of
is
the United
weakness.
States, the American people will have a champion for life in the Oval Office. Can't we have a minimum standard in every state in the nation that says when a baby is capable of feeling pain, an abortion cannot be allowed? A 15-week ban is an idea whose time has come. It's supported by 70% of the American people, but it's going to take unapologetic leadership that stands on
It's his party that's
principle
pushing
and
for a
expresses
6-week ban.
compassion for women in
Because
crisis
even they don't agree.
pregnancies. I'll do that as President of the United States.
He called my name, so I want to respond to that.
You did.
Seconds.
So first of all, I will say it is in the hands of the people, and that's where it should be. But when you're talking about a federal ban, be honest with the American people. We haven't had 45 pro-life senators in over 100 years, so no Republican president can ban abortions any more than a Democrat president could ban all those state laws. Don't make women feel like they have to decide on this issue when you know we don't have 60 Senate votes in the House.
70% of the American people support legislation
But
to
70%
ban
of
abortion
the
after
Senate
a baby is
does
capable
not.
of experiencing pain.
See, they don't even agree with each other.
Hold on.
70% of the Senate does not. You have to be honest with the
We have to
American
have
people.
a 15-week
All right,
limit.
let's get Governor Bergman for one minute here. But the Supreme Court did overturn Roe v. Wade.
And it caused chaos.
The result of that decision was that it went back to the states.
And each one comes up with their own crazy rules.
Right now. So as I understand it, you are not in favor of a federal ban. What do you say about the states? There's about 5 of them, including New Jersey, I think a few others, that allow abortion up until the time of birth, though. If you were president, would you be able to abide that?
Well, first of all, I'm a pro-life governor of a very pro-life state. And this issue is, of course, very important. But I am on the record, and I stand behind that we should not have a federal abortion ban. We should not. And the reason why we shouldn't is very simple. It's the 10th Amendment in the Constitution. In the Constitution, which the states created the federal government, not the other way around, it says that there were certain duties allowed to the federal government delegated to them by the states. The rest are left to the states, comma, or importantly, or to the people. We need to get back to freedom and liberty for the people in this country.
I don't know whose side he's on, honestly.
We can't have Republicans who fight for 50 years for this great cause to return it back to the states, and then the next day they turn around and go, no, the feds should do that, because the feds are stepping into people's lives, they're stepping into people's businesses over and over. If we say that the feds should be in on this one, where do we stop? I say that we follow the Constitution, and this is returned to the states. This is where it should be.
But Governor Burgum, you signed
There are 50 different laws in 50 different places.
You signed a 6-week ban.
Madness.
Governor Burgum, you signed a 6-week ban. So you're saying federally,
people's rights shouldn't be determined on which zip code they're standing in.
What is going to work in New York will never work in North Dakota.
Oh no.
Okay. And vice versa. That's
Governor
why 50
we're good.
states. That's why 50 states.
This
little
is
wrinkle
too
in time there,
important
but
of
we're
an
good.
issue that I have to address. First of all, the Supreme Court gave it back to the elected representatives, whether it's the states or whether it's the United States Congress. So there is authority, and that's why President Biden is pushing for a Democrat proposal, which is, in essence, abortion on demand through the term.
Yay,
so
good
they
job.
have their extreme position at a national level.
Yes.
Those
are
it's
rights.
most likely going to be addressed in the states, but it's certainly fine for it to be addressed at the national level as well. Arkansas has the record of being the most pro-life state in the nation. I signed 30 pro-life pieces of legislation while I was governor.
AKA chaos.
And every state can determine a different outcome here, and it is the most
Why would you want
important
them
issue
to?
for women and for
Why would you want
the unborn child,
the rights of a person
and
to be
for our
determined
country that we get
by
this
where
right.
they're
It's
at?
going to be a continued debate. Let's talk about it in terms of compassion, in terms of protecting the life, and also understanding how we have to enhance adoption services, how we have to enhance maternal care.
Oh, that's the first thing
Those
he'll
things
cut
we've done in
when
Arkansas
he's looking for
and are important
places
for
to
our nation's
cut
future.
taxes.
There are a lot of issues that are very important. Senator, I'll let you weigh in.
We cannot let states like California, New York, and Illinois have abortions on demand up until
can, though, because
the
they voted
day
for it under
of
your
birth.
plan,
That is immoral,
under your system.
It is unethical. It is wrong. We must have a president of the United States.
I support state rights,
who will
but not like that.
advocate and
Don't
fight
do
for
that.
The minimum, a 15-week
These guys are killing
limit.
for states' rights.
I'm
We want states' rights, states' rights, states' rights.
pro-life
Oh,
conservative.
look what California
I
did.
have a
Nah,
100%
don't like
pro-life
that.
record.
Don't let
I
them
can
do
tell
that.
you, though, we must fight for life. Our Declaration of Independence says our Creator gave us inalienable rights that include life. That is a list. That is an issue we must solve.
Those rights
We
will
can't
change
leave it
depending
to
on what
Illinois.
zip code you're
We can't leave it to Minnesota. We can't
That's
leave it
insane.
to Illinois. We must solve that issue with a 15-week limit at a minimum.
Thank you,
Brett,
Senator.
I think we're all pro-life, but
Thank
what
you.
I would love is for someone to ask Biden and Kamala Harris, are they for 38 weeks? Are they for 39 weeks? Are they for 40 weeks? Because that's what
90
the media
weeks.
needs to be asking.
All right,
Yeah, let's do
another
it.
issue is
90-week
America
abortions.
and the crime crisis, the homelessness crisis.
I'm just kidding.
American
That's a joke.
cities are in decline. People are moving out as homelessness, drugs, crime move in. There are problems accelerated. They did accelerate during the pandemic and are still rising, actually.
Murders in Los Angeles, New York, Chicago.
10-year
all
return
up
policy. You got it, KVP.
30% between 2019 and 2022. Homelessness is up 11%.
Be
the
afraid.
largest jump in recorded history.
Be
Vice
scared.
President Pence, a lot of this began in the COVID era. How much of what we're seeing happening around this country is a result of those COVID lockdowns? And is your administration in part to blame for how we got here?
Well, I think what's in part to blame is the Democrats have been talking about defunding the police for the last 5 years.
That's why we have homeless people.
And we ought to be funding law enforcement, particularly in our major cities, at unprecedented
Then we'd have fewer homeless
levels.
people. That sounds unlikely.
I mean, it's extraordinary to think about the violence that's claiming innocent lives literally every week in every major city in this country. And yet Democrats and liberal prosecutors in major metropolitan areas continue to work out their fanciful agendas, to do bail reform and go easy. What we need is strong commitment to law enforcement. We need leadership in Washington, D.C. that'll marshal the resources of the states, marshal the resources of the American people. But let me also say it's about opportunity.
He's talking martial law.
A lot of people don't know that
folks, he's pushing for martial law.
Tax cuts that we got signed into law go away at the end of 2025 if we don't have a Republican president and a Republican House and a Republican Senate.
And that's the trick.
When I'm president of the United States, we're actually going to cut taxes further. We're going to extend those tax cuts, and we're going to close the Federal Department of Education.
Fund the police to assault the homeless. That's right. That's what he wants.
States with a growing economy and education.
They write those tax plans with that in mind, knowing that the next president might not be Donald Trump, so they'll have to extend it.
And a number of them, including kids. Add that to the big increase in school shootings around the country. Democrats blame this crisis on easy access to guns. They also blame Republicans for blocking gun control legislation. What would President Christie do?
You know, I'm proud of the fact, Brett, that I'm the only person
close the Department of Education. That's right. I bet you're right.
Who's actually running United States Attorney's Office. I ran the 5th largest office in America in a state where there is significant urban crime. And the problem is not going to be solved by more money. The problem is that these prosecutors in these localities in the states are refusing to do their job and to arrest violent criminals. So what a President Christie would do is appoint an attorney general who would instruct each of the 93 U.S. attorneys that they are to take over the prosecution of violent crime in every one of those cities that are failing to do so. We have plenty of room in the federal prisons to lock up these violent criminals.
Plenty of room in the federal prisons.
What's going on all across this country in these
I bet they would like
cities.
to know that. Have you told them that?
What we need to make sure
I bet
that
they would disagree.
each and every one of these criminals understand is that the laws apply to everybody. And when Hunter Biden fills out a fake application,
we got
a false
46
application
minutes
for a
before we got to him, folks.
and
46 minutes. That's way higher than I had expected.
Mandatory minimum, which was mandated by legislation sponsored by his father. And then you have a Justice Department that walks away from those charges. We're telling people that the law doesn't apply to everybody. In a Christie administration, he would go to jail for 10 years.
What about
Just hired a special prosecutor for him. Special investigator.
So the reality is we have a crime wave in this country, and we know how to fix it.
We don't
The question is, do we actually
have
have
a crime
the
wave.
spine to do it? More cops in the streets who are on the streets able to do their jobs without looking over their shoulder for getting sued. And we also have a mental health epidemic in this country.
More violent
Just
cops.
over the same
Great.
period that we have closed mental health
That'll
institutions,
lower
we
our
have
amount
seen a
of
spike in
mental
violent
health
crime.
problems
Do we
because
have the
they'll all be
spine to
dead.
bring them back? I think we should. As president, I will. But it's not just drugging up people in those psychiatric institutions with Zoloft and Seroquel. It's a deeper issue. I think faith-based approaches can play a role here too.
Jesus
We're
will
in the
save us.
middle of a national identity crisis. And I say this as a member of my generation. The problem in our country right now, the reason we have that mental health epidemic, is that people are so hungry for purpose and meaning at a time when family, faith, patriotism, hard work have all disappeared. What we really need is a tonal reset from the top, saying that this is what it means to be an American. Yes, we will stand for the rule of law. Yes, we will close the southern border where criminals are coming in every day. And yes, we will back law enforcement because we remember who we
He's not
really
talking about
are.
plans. He's
And
just
that's
talking
also
bumper
how we
stickers.
address that mental health epidemic in the next generation that is directly leading to violent crime across this country.
Yeah, I think you're right, Roxer. The faith-based solutions tend to lead to people killing themselves, and that's a win. Because now they more cops on the street, and then they'll kill the crazy people and the homeless.
Idealistic, hardworking people the world has ever known. We just need government as good as our people.
Well, Mike, I think the difference is
Government
you
as
might
good as
have
our people.
some others like you may have on the stage.
A
It's
grumpy old
morning in
man. He's
America speech.
mad
It
at
is
that
not
kid.
morning in America. We live in a dark moment, and we have to confront the
It's
fact
the second time he's
that
given
we're in
grief.
an internal, sort of cold cultural
Grumpy
civil
old man,
war,
mad at a
and
kid.
we have to
The
recognize
American
that in
people
order
with the
to actually
failed
win.
government in Washington, D.C. We just need government as good as our people again.
So, let me just finish addressing that slogan because I don't know what that slogan means. We need to shut down the administrative state. That's actually how we translate it.
Crime has been on the rise in Florida, Governor DeSantis. How do you stop crime?
Well, actually, crime's at a 50-year low
Not
in
in-
Florida.
Oh, look at that. They don't even agree on the numbers. They just make up numbers. It's great. I make up numbers, but I'm a shit talker.
These
That's what I do.
hollowed out cities, this is a symptom of America's decline. And one of the biggest reasons is because you have George Soros funding these radical left-wing district attorneys.
There he comes.
They get into office and they
He's
say they're not going to prosecute
getting into the real
crimes.
issues.
They disagree with the inmates start running the asylum.
Soros
There's one
checks.
guy in this entire country that's ever done anything about that. Me. When we had two of these district attorneys in Florida elected with Soros funding who said they wouldn't do their job, I removed them from their posts. They are gone.
Oh, he's such a liar about that. Soros put some money into a basic Democrat thing 10 years before the guy got elected. And so they say he was Soros backed. He's full of shit. He's a liar.
Innocent people in every corner of this country, and it will stop when I get into office.
Okay.
He did remove them illegally. Shinzendo, he did. For
Mark,
political
I just
reasons.
thought it was interesting. You asked your question about the problems we're having in big cities.
Fired
Nobody ever
somebody
asked
from
the
their
question
job
of
because somebody
what about the
else
crime wave in small
donated to
towns?
the
'Cause in a
Dems
small
10 years
town,
ago.
neighbors help neighbors. People understand each other. If a farmer gets sick, everybody comes together and helps him get the crop off. There's accountability. There's transparency. One thing that I think this country could use is somebody in the White House that understands small town values, because that's our road back to get this country on track again.
Small towns. What's that? You live in the city?
Governor Hutchinson.
Fuck off. You're probably homeless.
As former head of the DEA, I understand the drug crisis in America. And right
That
now,
makes me
whenever you
want
look
to
at
listen to you
the
even less.
challenges in our inner city,
You lost the drug war,
there's
my
three
my
simple
man.
words that would be helpful. One, enforce the law when
There
it
was
comes
a drug
to crime.
war, and you lost.
Secondly, let's deal with the challenge of
You lost that
fentanyl.
war.
And it's both about
Fentanyl.
stopping
I
the
need Thomas to
fentanyl
explain
coming
this
from
fentanyl thing to
Mexico,
me,
but
because
it's
I don't get
also
it.
about education
I'm gonna
of our
bug him
young
about it
people,
later. Maybe we can
making
talk about it on
sure that
Saturday.
we
I don't know what the
have,
hell he's talking.
the
What they're all
tools that are
on
needed
about.
for addiction counseling. That's what we expanded in Arkansas as well. Whenever you look at the underlying challenge of America, though, no one likes to see an America with smash and grab in our inner cities. As President of the United States, that will stop. It starts
How are you
at the
gonna do
top
that?
with the respect for our justice system that a former president who's under indictment has undermined
Uh-oh.
by
They're talking
attacking
about him.
judges, by attacking prosecutors, by attacking the system. And
This guy's
saying
running
he's
for president.
aggrieved.
The rest of them, not so
And
much.
so
This
we
guy
have
is.
to have respect for
And
our
I'll tell you why
justice
later.
system and the rule of law, and it starts at the top with the President of the United States.
Thank you.
We're
Hold
gonna
on.
take a break.
Oh, they have to do another commercial.
So, speaking of that, right now you are looking live at Fulton County Jail, where former President Donald Trump will be processed tomorrow. So next, the candidates will have an opportunity to talk about the coming trials of Donald Trump.
Well, that guy's running for president because he's actually like going after the guy in the lead. The rest, not so much. If you're on that stage right now and you're not going after the guy who's in the lead, you're probably not running for president. You're running for VP. What was I going to talk about? Yeah, there was a war on drugs and drugs won. And that guy's on the losing side, and he's claiming that he's qualified to be running the government. And I'm like, ah, man, you went to war and you lost. And we get more gold, Birch Gold Group. Do you know that if you like call if you give these people some money, but you're not like enough to get like a whole gold brick, they'll just send you a piece of paper that says you own this much gold? That used to be what dollars were. So if you wanted to get with this Birch company right now and you only sent them like $200, they wouldn't send you any gold or any gold coins. They would just send you a certificate that says, hey, you own this much gold, and you can give it to us anytime you want. Well, you can trade back that certificate for the gold. That's what dollars used to be. That's what they used to mean. This poor guy, he keeps getting canceled for being anti-vax. Come to Rumble, where you can be anti-vax as much as you want.
Bank your vote by casting your ballot before Election Day.
Either early, in person, or by mail.
Go to bankyourvote.com to sign up and commit to voting early.
That's how we're going to beat the Democrats at their own game.
Go to bankyourvote.com.
Why would they back
take
this?
The pledge to bank your vote to beat Biden.
By mail. I know all of those people told everybody not to. They don't even know what their own plans are. By mail. They hate that. Come to Rumble. We're awful here. It's true. Everything is terrible here. We got more Black Rifle coffee. Very, very manly. I mean, my T levels went up just from watching that commercial, you guys. Oh, this guy's a veteran. Oh no, he's got one of those solar panels. Didn't he hear? Those solar panels are made by China. He's supporting China right now. Oh my God, this guy. He's supporting China with his solar panels. Wasn't he watching the debate? Like, didn't he just see us talk about this? Mixed messaging. Come to Rumble for mixed messages. What is this?
Following your policies?
Strike one!
What if someone tells the truth, but it's labeled as misinformation?
Strike two!
Wow. What if I want to ask questions and have different opinions on things?
Strike three! You're out of here!
Rumble. What if I have sincerely held delusions that I will get violent if you don't respect? You should go to Rumble. Come to Rumble. We will violently defend our sincerely held delusions. Strike 4. This thing is supposed to go for another hour. Yeah, another hour. Maybe we watch the Trump video tonight, or maybe we do it tomorrow. I don't know. What's today? Today's Wednesday. Maybe we go over that on... I mean, it won't be an hour, right? Yeah, it won't be an hour. We'll find a place to watch it after this. If you guys are here and want to watch it, we'll watch it. So if you're here and you're watching, jump into chat. It's up here. I see it. Chat. It's filled with cool people doing cool things and gambling. All right. It's back.
Well, we have a lot to get to in this second hour of this GOP primary debate. Policy discussions the Americans want to hear you all on. China, Ukraine, immigration, education. But we are going to take a brief moment and talk about the
Roger, it was recorded previously. Like, he recorded it 3 or 4 days ago. So it's not like he's live.
4 different states on 91 counts. He will be processed tomorrow in Georgia at the Fulton County Jail for charges relating to the 2020 election loss.
You all signed a pledge to support the eventual Republican nominee. If former President Trump is convicted in a court of law, would you still support him as your party's choice? Please raise your hand if you would.
DeSantis doesn't like to raise hands. Oh, they're still going to do it. Oh, don't lie. Just see him look around. What a wimp. Look around. What's everybody else doing? What's everybody else doing? Okay, yeah, I'll raise my hand.
Governor Christie, you were kind of late to the game there, but you raised your hand?
No, I'm doing this. Look, I'm doing this.
And I know you didn't.
Whoa. No.
Oh, he does a this. Is that a raised hand? I don't know. Is this a raised hand?
Someone's got to stop normalizing this conduct. Okay?
Hutchison on the end said he wouldn't. He's the only one running for president.
And now, whether or not you believe that the criminal charges are right or wrong,
Doesn't
the
matter.
conduct is
The jury will
beneath
decide.
the office of President of the United States. And
He's getting some boos.
you know, this is the great thing about this country. Booing is allowed, but it doesn't change the truth. It doesn't change the truth.
It makes you lose, though. In the Republican primary, it makes you
Get
lose.
in and respond. Let's just speak
Boo.
the truth, okay? President Trump, I believe, was the best president of the 21st century.
Oh, this guy. Oh, he's hurting me so much. Oh.
Honest to God, your claim that Donald Trump is motivated by vengeance and grievance would be a lot more credible if your entire campaign were not based on vengeance and grievance against one man. And if people at home want to see a bunch
What
of
one man?
people blindly bashing Donald Trump without an iota of vision for this country, they could just change the channel to MSNBC right now. But I'm not running for president of MSNBC. I am running for president of the United States. We're skating on thin
And to
ice,
do
we
that, he
cannot
has to
set a
convince the
precedent
rubes in the
where
audience
the party in power uses
that he's on their
police
side.
force to indict its political opponents. It is wrong. We have to end the weaponization of justice in this country.
Oh no, weaponization.
You know, let me tell you something.
Yeah, you're right, Shinseto. Here it comes.
Because you sit here in an answer. You sit here in an answer right.
Oh, we're really mad.
You sit here in an answer.
Go ahead, Governor Christie.
Hold on, Governor Christie.
Hold on.
Well, so listen, the more time we spend doing this, the less time they can talk about issues you want to talk about. So let's
They
just
don't
get through
want
this
them to
section.
talk about issues. The crowd does not want to talk about issues, man. They do
sit
not.
Here talking about how you want to stand
They want
up for
drama.
the
They want the
rule of law
WWE.
and law and order. And the fact is that it can't be selective. In your book, you had much different things to say about Donald Trump than you're saying here tonight.
That's not true.
Well, it is very true.
That is not
It's
true.
very true.
He knows the crowd doesn't
It's
read.
bad behavior and illegal
By the way,
behavior, Chris, and you as a prosecutor should know better.
Yeah, you know what? I know a lot
There's
better.
a difference between bad behavior. And
I know
He's
a
kicking
lot
Christie's
better
ass,
than
though.
you do. You've never done it like you've never done anything to try to advance the interests of this government
You
except
damn
to put
kids.
yourself forward as a candidate tonight. And here's the thing. We've stood up for law and order. I did it as U.S. attorney. I did it as governor. And I am not going to bow to anyone when we have a president of the United States who disrespects the Constitution. He said,
Get your MSNBC
Oh.
he said,
politicized indictments, and we have to call out the truth.
Martha, it's important to say that the president said, Donald Trump said, it's okay to suspend the Constitution.
He did say that.
Now, the oath you take is to preserve, protect, and defend, not suspend. I will always stand up for our Constitution, regardless of the political pressure.
You know why everybody else is being so quiet? They don't want to talk about this. Everybody else doesn't want to talk about it.
Hold on, you will. All right, so President Trump's
That's why they let him go
former
on for
vice
10
president is on
minutes.
this stage tonight. He has faced hecklers on the campaign trail over his actions on January the 6th. On that day, the vice president moved forward with the certification of the election. So do you believe that Mike Pence did the right thing, Senator Scott? Do you believe he did the right thing?
Absolutely. He did the right thing. Number one. Number two. We should be asking ourselves a bigger question about the weaponization of the Department of Justice. When I'm president, the first thing I'll do is fire Merrick Garland. Secondly,
For going after criminals with an R behind their name. He'd hate for
because
that.
we need Lady Justice to wear a blindfold. Without that,
So that she can't
no
see all
one
the
has
Republican
confidence
crimes.
in our justice system. 17% of Republicans have confidence in our Department of Justice.
'Cause you lie to
Here's
them
why. We
about
keep
it.
seeing not only the weaponization of the Department of Justice against political opponents, but also against parents who show up at school board meetings. They're called, under this DOJ, they're called domestic terrorists.
Firing Christopher
but that's not,
Reagan,
but
you have
that's
to
not
shut down the FBI. Actually have the courage to get it right.
Mr. Ramaswamy.
Let me finish my comment.
He's taking shots.
Not only that, in addition to that, we see the SWAT team show up at pro-life activist homes with guns drawn, because this DOJ uses
Because
their
they're more
power,
likely to own
uses
guns.
their authority, not
Obviously.
just against political
Dummy.
opponents, but against conservatives and conservative causes. It is time for a change in America, and I will bring that change to the greatest nation on God's green earth.
We have an important question still to answer.
Pro-life activists are more likely to own guns. So if they're being arrested,
end the weaponization of these federal agents.
the cops go in with the
I will do that.
guns drawn.
I know, but here's the thing. This election is not about January 6th of 2021.
It is,
it's about
actually.
January 20th of 2025, when the next president is going to take office. I know
Every one of these people on the stage have told lies about Jan 6.
about all these
Every one of them.
other issues, but we've got to focus on your future. We've got to focus on reversing the decline of our country.
Right.
I learned in the military, I was assigned with U.S. Navy SEALs in Iraq, that you focus on the mission above all else. You can't get distracted.
Yeah, let's
So
move on to something else.
Republicans, we've
Don't
gotta
don't worry
look
about the
forward,
crimes
and
somebody
we've gotta
committed in the
make sure
past. Let's go
that
forward.
We're bringing the message that can win in November 2024.
I mean, technically, all crimes are committed in the past, so we should just move on.
Defend the Constitution of the United States. I think the American people deserve to know whether everyone on this stage agrees that I kept my oath to the Constitution that day. There's no more important duty. So answer the question.
I've answered this before.
Let's just move on.
Why are we? Mike did his duty. I got no beef with him. But here's the thing: is this what we're going to be focusing on going forward? The rehashing of this? I'll tell you, the Democrats would love
On
that.
trial now. Well, he's going to be arrested tomorrow. How do you move forward when the man is being arrested tomorrow?
Let me just say, Governor DeSantis, we spent an hour talking about policy. Former President Trump is beating you by 30, 40 points in many polls. So it is a factor in the GOP primary. Governor Hutchinson, you did not raise your hand.
I did not raise my hand because there's an important issue we as a party have to face. And over a year ago, I said that Donald Trump was morally disqualified from being president again as a result of what happened on January 6th. More people are understanding the importance of that, including
This guy's running for president, I'm telling you.
legal scholars who says he may be disqualified under the 14th Amendment from being president again as a result of the insurrection. This is something
He said it. He
that
said
could
the I word.
disqualify him under our rules.
They are very. The crowd's not going to like that.
Under the Constitution. And so
It's a bold play, Cotton.
obviously,
Let's see how it plays
I'm
out.
not going to support somebody who's been convicted of a serious felony or who is disqualified under our Constitution, and that's consistent with RNC rules, and I hope everybody would agree with me.
That guy's running for president. The rest are going for Veto. Honestly.
Answer the question.
Can I get in on
Okay, I'd like to answer.
And he won't get nominated. No, he won't.
Vice President Pence.
All right, I'd like to answer the question you asked and not give a pre-canned speech. Mike Pence stood for the Constitution, and he deserves not grudging credit. He deserves our thanks as Americans for putting his oath of office and the Constitution of the United States before personal, political, and unfair pressure. And the argument that we need to have in this party before we can move on to the issues that Ron talked about is we have to dispense with the person who said that we need to suspend the Constitution to put forward his political career. Mike Pence said no,
The
and
Kristen
he
Mike
deserves
team.
credit for it.
Maybe.
Do you agree that Vice President Pence did the right thing that day or not?
I do think that Vice President Pence did the right thing, and I do think that we need to give him credit for that. But what I will also tell you is, look, I mean, when it comes to whether President Trump should serve or not, I trust the American people. Let them vote. Let them decide. But what they will tell you is that it is time for a new generational conservative leader. We have to look at the fact that 3/4 of Americans don't want a rematch between Trump and Biden. And we have to face the fact that Trump is the most disliked politician in America. We can't
Possibly
win a
ever.
general election that way.
Dr. Bergen?
Governor Berg an opportunity.
I know, it's a good question. How can he have done the right thing?
On January 6th. But I would say you started off the top of this hour saying we're going to talk about
Saying
China,
he did the right
Ukraine,
thing suggests that
education.
other people
China is the number
are
one
doing the
threat
wrong
to our
thing.
country, and every minute
So Donald Trump did a wrong thing, but we don't want to have the
you know who loves it? Biden loves
DOJ
it,
go
but
after him.
China loves it when we're talking about the past.
Okay, as promised, we were going to spend a few questions.
Welcome
on
to
it,
the
let
game,
people
No
say what
City.
they wanted to say, and now, indeed, we are moving on.
Game
to
on.
The, subject
the
of
U.S. has committed nearly 77.
Can I speak on this issue? I was
You
kind of
did.
involved.
You did.
You did say something.
Yeah.
I thought we thought you were done, but you
No, I
please.
wasn't done.
Well, Mike, why don't you say this? Join me in making a commitment.
Oh, these two are mad at each other.
Donald Trump. I'm the only
Every time
candidate
Mike
on the
Pence, this
stage.
kid jumps up on him. I get to call him a kid because I'm older than him.
Move our nation forward and turn the page forward. That's exactly
The shade, yeah, the drama.
Of these crimes.
These two are drama
And
llamas.
be able to make a commitment. The same justice system that was this.
They need a Netflix show, these two guys. Like an Odd Couple kind of TV show, these two.
I've given pardons when I was governor of the state of Indiana. It usually follows a finding of guilt and contrition by the individual that's been convicted. So, if I'm president of the United States, we'll give fair consideration to any pardon request. But if I may, it's not about looking back at January 2021.
An admission of guilt
It's
and
about
contrition.
January 20th, 2017. I put my left hand on Ronald Reagan's Bible. I raised my right hand. And I took an oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States. And it ended with a prayer, so help me God. It was a promise that I made to the American people, but I also made it to my Heavenly Father. Every day for 4 years, I sought to keep that oath. And everyone on this stage needs to make it clear whether or not they'll do the same if they earn this job and the confidence of the American people.
Yeah, he touched the Ronald Reagan
Look,
Bible.
I've made it clear. I had hoped
I know. I agree with you, Rock
that
Smith.
the
This
issues
is
surrounding the 2020 election and the
we can put
controversies
my
around January 6th had not come to
emo
this,
Waldo.
had not come to criminal proceedings.
There you go.
I would rather they had been resolved
When
by
things
the
get too
American
religious,
people
we get the
and
emo
the American
Waldo
people alone. But no one's above the
in
law.
chat. Emo Waldo's
And
in chat.
President Trump is entitled to the presumption of innocence
For
that every American
angsty
is entitled
atheists.
to. And we will make sure and extend that to him. But the American people deserve to know that the president asked me in his request that I reject or return votes unilaterally, power that no vice president in American history had ever exercised or taken. He asked me to put him over the Constitution. And I chose the Constitution, and I always will. I had no right to
Okay, so if that's the right thing and they all agree, that means Donald Trump did the wrong thing. And if he did the wrong thing, then the DOJ should target him. They should weaponize the DOJ against the people who are doing the wrong things. Mixed messaging all day, every day.
$77 billion in aid to the Ukraine war.
I am curious about this
is
one.
now asking Congress for
Half of these people are going to be
$24
pro-Russia.
billion more. Regardless of that, the specifics of that plan, is there anyone on stage who would not support the increase of more funding to Ukraine?
We wouldn't, yeah. He's a Russian stooge.
I mean, I would have Europe step up and do their job.
Have Europe pay for it, not us. Okay.
But you're saying you would not too?
And they're cheering for him?
I will have Europe pull their weight. Right now, they're not doing that. And I think
We're the military superpower in the world, my man.
on them doing it.
And you want us
and
to
I
be.
would have support in China.
He's licking his finger.
To be able to take China and do what we need to
Testing
do
the
with China.
wind?
Mr. Ramaswamy, you would not support an increase of funding to Ukraine?
I would not. And I think that this is disastrous, that we are protecting against an invasion across somebody else's border when we should use those same military resources to prevent across the invasion of our own southern border here in the United States of America. We are
Really
driving Russia further
hates
into
Mexicans.
China's hands.
Okay.
The Russia-China alliance is the single greatest threat we face. And I find it offensive that we have professional politicians on the stage that will make a pilgrimage to Kyiv, to their Pope, Zelensky, without doing the same thing for people in Maui,
Yeah, Mexican
or
enemy
the south
combatants
side of
confirmed. You're right.
Chicago, or Kensington. I think that we have to put the interests of Americans first. Secure our own border instead of somebody else's.
Shoot them when they come across, according to this guy.
Also how
Good
we
Lord.
project strength by making America strong at home.
All right, we heard the names. Governor Christie first.
All right, look, I did go to Ukraine, and I went to Ukraine because I wanted to see for myself what Vladimir Putin's army was doing to the free Ukrainian people. And let me tell you, I want you all to look around this arena tonight and imagine that every one of these seats was filled.
That's good.
And if every one of them was filled, there would still be 2,500 more children outside to make over 20,000 who have been abducted, stolen, ripped from their mothers and fathers, and brought back to Russia to be programmed to fight their own families. They have gouged out people's eyes, cut off their ears, and
it's Russia stealing
shot
Ukrainian
people in the
babies?
back of the head,
I hadn't heard about
men,
that.
and then gone into those homes and raped the daughters and the wives who were left as widows and orphans. This is the Vladimir Putin. This is the Vladimir Putin who Donald Trump called brilliant and a genius. If we don't stand up against this type of autocratic killing in the world, we will be next.
You were mentioned.
Governor Haley, we'll come back.
Vice President Pence was mentioned. You get 30 seconds.
Yeah, well, let me be clear. Anybody that thinks that we can't solve the problems here in the United States and be the leader of the free world has a pretty small view of the greatest nation on earth.
That is incorrect.
We can do both, Vivek.
We can do both. These two, they need a TV show. They need a buddy cop show. I'm thinking buddy cop show.
Years ago made it clear. We said if you're
Pence and
willing to fight the
Ramaswamy.
communists on your soil, we'll give you the means to fight them there so our troops don't have to fight them. Vivek, if we do the giveaway that you want to give to Putin to give him his land, it's not going to be too long before he rolls across a NATO border, and frankly, our men and women of our armed forces are going to have to go and fight him. I want to let the Ukrainians fight and drive Putin and the Russians.
I know what you're saying, Roxer. Pence and Christie are old school Republicans who could almost do things sometimes.
The real threat. You talked about the communists, and the real communists that we have to address right now is the idea.
He says China is going to lose it.
Now I actually have something to say.
Vladimir Putin has been saying he wants to reestablish the old Soviet sphere
You've made
of
your point,
influence.
Vice President.
Now, if you think, I'm sorry if I insulted him by calling him a communist. He is a dictator and a murderer, and the United States of America needs to
you're right,
stand
Roxer. They have a vague hint of sanity. You're right.
Mr. Ramaswamy, 30 seconds.
Respond. The real threat we face today is communist China, and we are driving Russia further into
China's not communist.
arms.
They never have been.
Russia-China military alliance is the single greatest threat we face. Nobody in either political party is talking about it, and I am the only non-neocon on this stage who will keep us out of war.
Mr. Vice President, we can't hear. Mr. Vice President,
to give Russia
They're losing it.
Mr. Vice President,
give them a promise that Ukraine will never be in NATO, and then somehow
Chaos,
China will not think about taking Taiwan. We achieve peace through strength.
Mr. Vice
and
President.
America needs to stand for freedom.
Okay, here we go.
I think we need to establish some ground rules
When
here,
we
folks.
hear this bell,
Yes.
that means your time's done. So, Mr. Vice President, we appreciate your aggressiveness here. 30 seconds is 30 seconds. Mr. Ramaswamy, you were mentioned. You get 30 seconds.
Well, he just had 30 seconds.
The reality is
Okay, whatever.
that today,
And now they're mad at him. Like, he just had 30 seconds.
priority for the United States of America. And I think that the same people who took us into the Iraq War, the same
More
people
enunciated
who took us into the
taglines,
Vietnam
you're right.
War, you cannot start another no-win war. And I do not want to get to the point where we're sending our military resources abroad when we could be better using them here at home to protect our own borders, protect the homeland.
All right.
That will be my top priority in foreign
I think
policy.
we gave you
protect
more
this
than the 30
homeland.
seconds in the rebut. So I do want to get to some other people because everybody, we respect everybody's time here. So, Governor Haley, you did not raise your hand, meaning that you would support more funding for the Ukraine war. You have said of Governor DeSantis that you didn't appreciate it when he initially called it a territorial dispute. Why?
First of all, the American president needs to have moral clarity. They need to know the difference between right and wrong. They need to know the difference between good and evil.
Oh, Trump's out
When
there.
you look at the situation with Russia and Ukraine, here you have a pro-American country that was invaded by a thug. So when you want to talk about what has been given to Ukraine, less than 3.5% of our defense budget has been given to Ukraine. If you look at the percentages per GDP, 11 of the European countries have given more than the U.S. But what's really important is go back to when China and Russia
Glad we're agreeing,
held
though.
hands, shook hands before the Olympics, and named themselves unlimited partners. A win for Russia is a win for China. We have to know that. Ukraine is the first line of defense for us. And the problem that Vivek doesn't understand is he wants to hand Ukraine to Russia. He wants to let China eat
Appeasement.
Taiwan. He wants to go and
Appeasement.
stop funding Israel. You don't do that to friends. What you do instead is you have the backs of your friends. Ukraine is the front line of defense. Putin has said if once Russia takes Ukraine, Poland and the Baltics are next. That's a world war.
He
We're
did say that.
trying to prevent war. Look at what Putin did today. He killed Prigozhin. When I was at the UN,
Yeah,
the
the
Russian ambassador
head of the
suddenly died.
Wagner group
This
got
guy is
killed.
a murderer, and you are choosing a murderer over a pro-American country.
First of all, Mr. Ramaswamy, you have 30 seconds. Mr. DeSantis, Governor
Nikki,
DeSantis,
I wish you well in your future career on the boards of Lockheed and Raytheon.
I'm not
but
on
the
the
fact
boards
of the matter,
Lockheed and Raytheon. And
Boeing came off of it, but you've been pushing this lie. You've been pushing this lie all week, Nikki.
You want to go and defund Israel? You want to
Okay,
give
let me
Taiwan
address
to
that. I'm
China?
glad you brought that up.
Go and give
I'm going to
Ukraine
address
Russia?
each of those right now. This is the false lies of a professional politician. There you have it.
She's hitting him hard.
You have no foreign policy experience, and it shows.
And you know what? The foreign policy experience that you all have shows
Yeah,
the wars we've gotten into.
he's trying to sell his book, I think, and it shows. Yeah, you're right.
Never be stronger than by the end of my first term. But it's not
They're cheering for her, though.
relationship. It is a friendship. And you know what friends do? Friends help each other stand on their own 2 feet. So I will lead Abraham Accords 2.0. I will partner with Israel to make sure Iran never is nuclear armed. But you know what I love about Israel? And I've been there probably in the last 10 years more than most people on this stage. You know what I love about them?
I need a fire
love
emoji.
their
Is there
border
not
policies.
normal
I love their
fire?
tough on crime policies.
That's a kick
I love
thing,
that
then.
they have a national identity and an iron dome to protect their homeland. And so, yes,
Yeah,
I
it's right
want to learn from the friends that we're supporting. And what puzzles me is, I want to learn from those and apply those to protect our homeland, Nikki.
Israel
That is
needs
the answer.
America. America needs Israel.
Okay, Governor DeSantis, you were mentioned in the territorial dispute. Not only
no, it's not a territorial dispute
President
either.
of the United States,
She is. She's spitting fire.
obligation is to defend our country and its people. And that means you're sending all this money, but you're not doing what we need to do to secure our own border. We have tens of thousands of people who are
deflect.
being killed because what
Pence already said you could do both.
And so I am going to declare it a
Because
national
American
emergency.
companies
I'm
want
not
that
gonna
illegal
send
immigration.
troops to
They love
Ukraine,
it.
but I am
They
gonna
love
send them
it.
to our
It's good
southern
for
border.
us.
When these drug pushers are bringing fentanyl
Illegal immigration is good for
across
us.
the border,
Oh,
that's going to be
our
the
economy
last
loves
thing
it.
they do. We're going to use force, and we're going to leave them stone cold dead.
we're actually
Stone
going to
cold
move on
dead.
to China. We're going to talk about China.
Cross that southern border and he'll kill you. All right.
China has the biggest navy in the world, the biggest army in the world. Now they have warships off the coast of Alaska. They are threatening Taiwan. In coming years, China will have 1,500 nuclear warheads, it's believed. The U.S. just arrested 2 sailors accused of spying for China within our military. So the question is, how would you deter China as a president, Burgum?
Well, this is the number one issue we're facing, and of course we haven't been talking about
You're
it.
right,
We
she
act
said
like
that. He
that
loves
letting Russia
being
win
the
in
tough guy.
Ukraine is like a gimme as opposed to a gift to China. Russia has become China's gas station. But how would we do it? The Biden administration is a complete fail. China imports 10 million barrels of oil a day, more than any other country in the world. They do not even have all the food they need to feed everybody in that country, so they don't have energy security or food security. But the Biden administration sends Blinken, Yellen over there.
More diplomacy, you maniac.
They don't even bring up energy because they're
That's
too
diplomacy.
busy trying to kill the U.S. energy here. And what we need to do is not meetings, not press releases, because something that would send a lot more than a press release is actually Harpoon missiles. We need
Don't do
anti-ship
diplomacy. Do
missiles
war,
on
baby.
Taiwan.
War.
The way that you have
No
the
diplomacy.
war never
War.
start, which is the goal The way you have peace through strength is that you actually have strength. You actually have deterrence. And what we have in what we've got going on in Ukraine is an example of when deterrence fail. What is an example there of Biden's disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan, the fact that he green-lighted Putin moving into Ukraine, and then now they see weakness, and when they see weakness, they make a move. And we have to make strong,
Biden's
and we have to be
withdrawal
strong both
from
in Ukraine
Afghanistan.
and we can solve the southern border. Absolutely, we can do that.
Biden's withdrawal from Afghanistan was planned by Trump, intentionally, willingly. But Biden knows that you can't just throw out every plan that the last guy and every agreement that the last president made, because that leads to chaos. So he followed Trump's plan.
Border Patrol.
Okay. Senator Scott on China, that same question.
Well, it was already planned. It was planned before he was elected.
87,000 IRS agents and hire or double
Same
the
thing with the
number
tax
of
cuts he's
Border
firing.
Patrol
Yeah.
agents. I just left Yuma, Arizona about 2 weeks ago. The most pressing need of the American people from a national security standpoint is our southern border. It has led to the death of 70,000 Americans because of fentanyl. Plus,
fentanyl thing. I don't understand.
illegal
I'm going to have Thomas
crossings
explain this to me.
since President Biden has taken office, and 200 people on our national security watch list have been caught at our border. How many have not been caught at our southern border? If we just spend $10 billion.
A black kid in Houston has a handful of weed on him, and he's a criminal and ought to go to jail for years. But a white guy in Virginia overdoses intentionally and willingly on fentanyl, and that's a tragedy. I don't understand how Republicans think about this. It doesn't make any sense to me.
This government, and as the next president of the United States, I will make that border wall complete.
There are many more
The
questions
border
on
wall,
China.
good God. The wall doesn't work,
I
my
couldn't
man.
agree more.
Doesn't.
It's not just the
Doesn't do anything.
70,000 from fentanyl. We've lost 200,000 people to overdoses since Biden took office. That's 300 people a day. We're taking mass casualties.
Those
and
people are taking
that's a
drugs because
statistic,
they
but these
want
are
to.
sons and
Drugs are
daughters, nieces
great.
and
Have you ever
nephews that we're
tried them?
losing. We've
They're
got North
awesome
Dakota
and they're
troops down
cool.
there flying
Everybody likes
helicopter
them.
missions from San Diego to the Gulf Coast, trying to stop these transnational criminal organizations. They've got better funding on their side than we've got on our side.
Speaking of which, Governor Hutchinson.
Madness.
Speaking of which, images from earlier this month, Governor Hutchinson,
with Mexico,
Vice President Pence, images from earlier this month. Vice President Pence, it really doesn't help. I'm asking a
Fentanyl
question.
is something you
Earlier
take on
this
purpose
month,
because you want to.
Images showed suspected cartel members crossing into Texas with rifles. Do you consider this an invasion? Would you
Well, because you're
authorize
taking some drugs.
lethal
I can
force
recognize that if you
along
bought
that
street opium thinking
There
that it was
would
opium
be
that was actually
lethal
fentanyl,
force
it could kill
used
you.
by
But you
the
wanted
Border
to take the
Patrol,
opium.
law
There's nobody
enforcement
accidentally
as
taking
needed to protect the border.
the drugs.
Absolutely.
You know what
when
I mean?
you look at the military,
You
the
want some drugs,
military
you go
has
get
to
it,
be used for
and then you take it.
intelligence
And it
gathering
happens to be
purposes.
fentanyl.
This
Now
is
you're
not
overdosing, now you're dead.
unusual.
That is
Whenever
bad.
I was in the
I
Bush
agree, but
administration, we went down there and met
That's
met
because
with
people want
President
to take
Vicente
drugs.
Fox
Make it
of
legal in their
Mexico
state.
and ask his
Make
help in going
regular
after
drugs
the
legal in their
cartels.
state, and they
And he
won't
looked
go
at
to
me
the
and
black
said,
market for
"They're a problem
fentanyl.
to us as well." And so we joined together and we took down the Ariana Felix brothers leading the Tijuana cartel, and that made a difference. Ramon was shot
I think you're
and
right,
killed,
Alcidian, but
and Ben was
and
captured.
you're right that
Cooperation
the
makes a
drug
difference.
dealers with no
We
scruples
cannot
will
be
cut it with
successful
fentanyl if it's
going
cheaper
against
for
the
them in the long run.
cartel unless
Why are you buying
we
things from that drug dealer?
bring in
Stop.
Mexico as a partner. We
Make
have
it
to
legal
use
in the state
economic
for
pressure
regular
to
drugs.
accomplish that. President Obrador has not been helpful, and we have to use economic pressure that this administration is not using. The rule of law has to matter on both sides of it.
Okay.
This is critical. I've done it. We know what needs to be done. The military has to be limited in
What's
its
with the
use.
cartels shooting people with fentanyl
After
darts? What are they going to do about the
9/11,
concern I just made up?
we
Hey,
had the global
now you're
war
thinking
on
like a
terror.
Republican.
And guess what?
Good job.
We protected the border at the same time. You can do both.
Okay, let's go to Governor DeSantis. So, as president, would you support sending U.S. Special Forces
Yeah, I agree,
over the
Alcidian,
border
that
into
we should
Mexico
regulate
to
paths
take
to
out
recreational drugs. But
fentanyl labs,
this is
to
the
take out
same
drug
people
cartel
that are going to say
operations? Would you
you're a
support
bad
that kind
person
of
for a
American
handful
military
of marijuana.
use?
Yes.
And it's a terrible thing if people are taking dying from fentanyl. I don't. It's very strange.
Are killing tens of thousands of our fellow citizens.
The
You want to
cartels
talk
are
about
killing
a
our
country in
citizens?
decline? You have the cartels controlling
I don't believe
a lot
him.
of part of your southern border.
I don't think I don't believe him.
The
I don't think
rule
that's a
of
real
law,
thing.
and we have to defend our people. The President of the United States has got to use all available powers as Commander-in-Chief to protect our country and to protect the people. So when they're coming across, yes, we're going to use lethal force. Yes, we reserve the right to operate. How many more tens of thousands are we going to let to die? I am sick. I've met angel moms throughout this country. I met a lady in Texas named Tracy.
They
and
made up
her
a term
son
called angel moms?
Took one Percocet that was laced with fentanyl, immediately died. That
Why
is
did he
happening
buy a
all across
Percocet
this country
from a drug
because of
dealer?
the poison that
Because
they
he
are bringing
likes
in.
drugs.
So
People
as president,
like
would I use
drugs.
force?
They're
would
cool.
I treat
Everybody
them as
likes
foreign
them.
terrorist organizations? You're darn right I would.
You know, Vice President Pence.
People want
Vice
drugs.
President Pence, why would you be better at this
That's
issue
why the
than
cartels
Governor
are there,
DeSantis?
so that they can
Governor DeSantis on the campaign
provide for
trail
that demand.
refers to your
They
administration
can bring the
as
supply.
not finishing the wall.
Right, right. Look, we secured the southern border of the United States of America and reduced illegal immigration and asylum abuse by 90%.
90%, you guys.
When Joe Biden took over, he
unless
threw
he's making
open
shit
the
up,
southern border
which
of
he
the
is.
United States, and the wave of humanity, the wave of fentanyl that's been eloquently described here is a wave of human tragedy across this country. But
How many
Martha,
more
you began
imaginary
this
people have to die?
evening talking about who
You're
is
right,
best
Jacinto.
prepared to be the next president of the United States.
To
And I have to tell you, with all
the worst
humility,
day
I
Obama
was
ever had,
there when we
probably. That's where he gets his
negotiated,
90% comparison, I
through the
suspect.
government shutdown and got the funding available to build the wall. I was negotiating on Capitol Hill around the clock. I negotiated the Remain in Mexico policy on behalf of the President of the United States. And AC, you're so right. It's because we used economic pressure to bring the Mexicans to the table, and they allowed us to have people wait in Mexico while they applied for asylum and ended asylum abuse overnight. We got the Mexicans to deploy their National Guard to their southern border and to our southern border as never before. And I want to promise you, as President of the United States of America, I will engage Mexico the exact same way, and we will partner with the Mexican military, and we will hunt down and destroy the cartels that are claiming lives in the United States of America.
Okay, thank you. Another issue that is related to this is that almost 7 million migrants have crossed this border, our southern border, during the Biden administration. So, Governor Christie, what would you do about the 7 million who are here? How would you handle them? What would you do?
Look, Martha, the first thing we need to do is to stop any more from coming. That's the first thing we need to do. Then the next thing we need to do with the folks that are here is to, again, as we've talked about all night tonight, we have to have law and order in this country. We have to enforce the law. And what that means is to make sure that people who come here illegally are not rewarded for being here illegally. We have so many wonderful people from around the world who are waiting in
It's good for our economy,
following the law,
and it's why it continues to happen forever,
pursue the
and will never stop.
American dream.
It's good for our economy.
And those people are waiting and waiting and waiting because we haven't dealt with the problem of the folks who are here. We have to have them detained. We have to make sure that they are not rewarded for having broken the law. And one last thing on this fentanyl issue. With China, we can't take our eye off of that ball.
Right.
Yes, it's important that we secure the border. Very important, as I just said.
One-to-one where
But China is
Trump jumps
sending
in.
these chemicals to these drug cartels for them to create the fentanyl that is killing hundreds of thousands of our citizens. The Chinese are engaging in an
that's
act
killing
of
hundreds of
war
thousands of our
against us,
citizens.
killing our citizens.
Why do they have
we
it?
better make that priority one
'Cause they buy
in
drugs.
our conversations with China and to try to straighten that relationship.
You know the one I'm
out,
talking about.
Because if we don't, we're going to lose more and more of our
I
citizens.
just want to clarify, would you send those people back?
Of course. You'd have to.
We have a lot of issues that Americans care about. Next up, we're going to talk about the crisis in education, as millions of American children are not proficient in reading or math after this.
Right, because the Republicans want to get rid of the Department of Education. There's all the white people again. There they are. There they are.
Do you trust our government and where the
Yeah, I'm gonna have to have Thomas explain this one to me, because they're all excited about this fentanyl thing, and I just don't get it. I agree with you. I know what you're saying, Melcedian. If you're seeking drugs and you OD on fentanyl, it isn't your fault. But these people on the stage right now would send black kids to jail for their entire life for a handful of weed. But they want to help the white Appalachian coal miner who is buying drugs from a drug dealer and taking them. Like, it's just a weird juxtaposition that I can't get my head around from Republican people who, again, send mixed messages. The Republican people on the stage are sending mixed messages. They want to win the drug war over marijuana, but they want to help. They want to kill all the people who are using marijuana, but they want to help the people who are using fentanyl. It's very strange. Oh, we get a fact check Biden. It has a link that goes directly to Conservapedia. Yeah, and yeah, that's their position, Malcidian. That the prescription drug use and abuse is fine, street drug use is bad. We're missing an attack ad. I know, but I muted it because you didn't want to listen to Russell Brand again, do you? It's the third time we've seen him tonight. And he's spouting some anti-vax stuff. I can't play this on YouTube. Like, I know we're all on Kick, but I don't want my YouTube thing to get struck down for having Russell Brand on it. Oh, that's got to be another coffee commercial. Yeah. An attack plane with LiDAR and missiles. Must be a coffee commercial. There's some coffee drones. Some coffee fighter jets. Some coffee bombs. Oh. Prepare to deploy the coffee. Over. They're making me laugh too, but it's because they're so like into the bit. It's not like they showed a soldier drinking it. They showed a soldier deploying it. Fire and coffee and freedom with those sand people. Yeah, you're right. There's a bit of a commitment to the bit that they did. The most powerful superpower in advertising is committing to the bit. You know, just don't have a soldier drinking it. No. Have a soldier shooting it out of a rifle at you, and then they catch it and they're like, yeah. Or it kills a few people and then he drinks it. Right wing bait. Yeah, it's a thing. And more gold ads. They're animals, and I drone shot with a javelin missile like animals. Oh, we're still on the gold ad? Goodness. Okay. Coming back. Only 24 minutes left.
The nation's report card was the weakest ever for American school children, exposing chronic absenteeism, deep declines for reading and math for 15-year-olds and 13-year-olds. Governor DeSantis, you would eliminate, you said, the Department of Education. But
that'll make kids smarter.
Would you still have a responsibility to fix this crisis as we see it?
Absolutely. The decline in education is one of the major reasons why our country is in decline. We need
I agree with him, unironically.
Country, not indoctrination in this country. And in Florida,
I agree with him still.
Florida, we stood up for what was right. First, we had schools open during COVID, and a lot of the problems that we've seen are because these lockdown states lock their kids out of school for a year and a half.
So they don't spread the plague, dumbass.
I took a lot of fire for that.
Yes, because it's dangerous, dumbass.
But I stood for our kids, and as president, I'll stand for you and your kids as well. But
to
we
spread the
have to
plague.
make
He will protect your right to spread the
that
plague.
what our schools are doing is focusing on solid academics. In Florida, we eliminated critical race theory from our K through 12 schools.
There wasn't any.
Gender ideology from our
There
K
wasn't
through 12
any.
schools. And we have elevated the importance of American civics and teaching our kids about the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. As president, I'm going to lead an effort to increase civic understanding and knowledge of our Constitution. We cannot be graduating students that don't have any foundation in what it means to be an American.
But that'll only be Republicans' talking points.
Mr.
So he's
Mr. Ramaswamy, hold on, Senator Scott.
anti-education,
You've
but
said
pro-right-wing
the Department of Education,
indoctrination.
the FBI, the ATF, the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, the IRS, the Department of Commerce, many of these should not exist.
That's correct.
So to the education
Who's
question,
going to do all that work?
how would you deal with the crisis?
So look, we have a crisis of achievement. Let's shut down the head of the snake, the Department of Education. Take that $80 billion, put it in the hands of parents across this country. This is the civil rights issue of our time. Allow any parent to choose where they send their kids to school. End the teachers' unions at the local level to allow public schools to compete. And then revive our national identity where every high school senior should have to pass the same civics test that, frankly, every immigrant, including my mother, had to pass in order to become a citizen of this country. And the fact of the matter is, look, there's a part of education policy that also rests
Now, Sadie, I'm not sure what you're talking about.
I didn't grow up in money. But you know the word privilege gets used a lot? Well, you know what? I did have the ultimate privilege of two parents in the house with a focus on educational achievement. And I want every kid to enjoy that.
It didn't work for
part of
him.
the problem
He seems
is
kind of dumb
we
so
also
far.
have a federal government that pays single women more not to have a man in the house than to have a man in the house, contributing to an epidemic of fatherlessness. And I think that goes hand in glove with the education crisis as well, because we have to remember education starts with the family, and the nuclear family is the greatest form of governance known to mankind.
Yeah, everything is woke. So nothing is.
Governor Haley has said
The right has an aneurysm over the term and idea of wokeness.
Biological boys playing in girls' sports is the women's issue of our time. You said that even though you signed a ban on
Is there
this
a term
in
for
North
it?
Dakota, that there hadn't been one instance where it was actually needed. Are you saying that you think that too much is made of this issue?
No, I'm saying in North Dakota, we made a priority of protecting women's sports, and we've done that in our state.
Oh, super
But I
important.
would
Women's
absolutely do
sports,
that. But
everybody.
I do think when we start talking about education and we think that we're going
These
to have a federal
motherfuckers have
government,
never
one size fits
given a
all,
damn about
we're
women's
just
sports.
completely losing track of the fact that education differs by state.
They just hate trans people.
Some school districts are doing a fantastic job, some less so. But the idea that every school district in the state and every teacher is somehow indoctrinating people is just false. You know, when I was building a company from scratch, you know, with small town kids, and we went, you know, grew up in a town of 300, but we built a global company in 132 countries with over 100,000 customers. We listened to those customers. We spent time with them. We talked to them. We did that. And as governor, well, education is one of the biggest part of a state budget. So as a governor, I shadow a student. I don't, the night before I find out the student finds out, I'm going to go to every class with them. I don't sit and lecture school districts how to do it. I go and see the experience. And there's a lot of things that have to change. But what needs to change in education is it's innovation. We're doing it the same way we did it 50 years ago with innovation, not regulation. I would get rid of the Department of Education. I would give block grants to schools, but I'd give them on merit based on who's doing the most innovative. I just got done holding the 7th annual
Block grants.
Governor's
That means
Conference on
the rich people
Innovation
get the money,
Education.
the poor people
You
don't.
should see what the people are doing when you cut loose the red tape, get the burden off their back. They care. Teachers in this country, the vast majority of them care about those kids. They're working in low-paying jobs, and they're fighting for those kids and their families.
Are you going to pay them more? No? I don't think so.
First, I'll tell you, as you know, as a parent, the one thing you want is for your child to have a better life than you did. And
Yeah,
we
see,
can talk
Jacinta
about
knows what
all
he's
of
talking
these
about.
things, and there's a lot of
They
crazy
don't have the money
woke
for that
things
kind of stuff.
happening in schools, but we've got to get
There are
these
not
kids
crazy woke
reading.
things happening in
If a child
schools.
can't
You're
read
full
by
of it.
third grade, they're 4 times less likely to graduate high school. So we need to make sure we bring in reading remediation all over this country. We need transparency in the classroom because parents should never have to wonder what's being said or taught to their children in the classroom. Parents need to be deciding which schools their kids go to because they know best. And let's put vocational classes back into the high schools. Let's teach our kids to build things again. When we do that and we allow that innovation, that's
You
when
get to
it'll
choose
get
the
back.
religious
And
school
yes,
of your
I
choice,
will
and you
always
get to
say,
be
I'm gonna fight
taught how
for
to build
girls
things
all
so
day
that you can
long,
go out into the
because
real world,
strong
where
girls
you
become
work with
strong women. Strong
people
women
from
become
other
strong
countries
leaders,
in
and biological boys don't belong in the locker rooms of any of our girls.
writing software.
We're going to start the lightning round, and the first question is
I think you're right.
go,
She's a
to you, Vice President. So this is a lightning round.
And
of
I know why the
questions.
parents aren't involved, because they're
30-second
busy.
answers, please.
They have too many
President
fucking
Biden will
job
be 82
responsibilities.
years old on Inauguration Day. Nearly 70% of Americans say that he is too old to serve. Should presidents have to pass a mental and physical test in order to serve, Vice President Pence?
Well, it might be a good idea to have everybody in Washington, D.C. pass a mental and... But 30 seconds, no. The American people can make those judgments. But let me say,
Can
I'm
they?
running for president
I don't
of the
believe they
United
can.
States
I think they screw it up
we
pretty
don't
often.
need a president who's too old. And we don't need a president who's too young.
Oh, he's taking shots at that kid again.
We need a president who knows
Drama
how
llamas.
Congress works, how the White House works, how states work. And on this education issue, Martha,
Drama llamas.
I was fighting against No Child Left Behind when Republicans were doubling the Department of Education. I'll also shut down the Federal Department of Education. And when I was governor, we doubled the size of the largest school choice program in America. And we'll give school choice to every family in America.
School choice is not a good idea, man. It's bad.
Mr. Ramaswamy,
School choice just
there,
leads
you're
to
38, you're the youngest on the stage.
the people with enough money going to the better school, and the poor people being stuck. Then the block grants give the money to the rich school and not to the poor one.
Test for presidents over 75.
I believe in the people of this country to tell the difference between somebody who's an automaton and somebody who's actually a thinking agent in the White House,
I don't.
which we don't have in there today. And I will
He's
tell you,
38. Yes, he is. He's younger than me.
Comment. I think we do need somebody of a different generation to lead this nation forward. Look at the way I've run this campaign.
How? Republicans don't go forward. They go backward. Let's go backward. This guy's been talking nothing but backward, backward, backward all night long.
We have an opportunity to build a multi-ethnic working class majority to deliver a landslide. And I think I'm the only candidate in this race, young or old, black or white, to bring all of those voters along to deliver a Reagan 1980 revolution.
Backward. We're going to, baby, get on that Ramaswamy train. He will drive you into the future of 1987. That's going to be great. He's going to drive us to the future in a 1970 station wagon. It's going to be great.
Governor Hutchinson, you have 30 seconds on the same question.
On education, first of all, look at Arkansas. We have to compete with China. I built computer science education. We led the nation in computer science education, going from 1,100 students to 23,000 students taking it. This is how you compete with China. As President of the United States, I will make sure we go from 51% of our schools offering computer science to every school in rural areas and urban areas.
You're going to need a
offering
department
computer science for the benefit of our kids.
I would say,
and we can
education
compete with
to
China
make that happen,
in
my
terms
man.
of technology.
Thank you, sir.
We need some sort of department to bring it to them.
We're trying to do a quick round of different topics here. So, Senator Scott, faith is on decline in this country. You talked about it a little bit before tonight. So is there a role for
faith
a
is on
president
decline.
of the United
Let's get
States
Emo
in
Waldos
changing that? What would you
in
do
chat.
to change that?
Well, our nation was founded upon the Judeo-Christian values that has
No, it
made us
wasn't.
the greatest nation on God's green
No,
earth.
it wasn't.
I'm a big believer in Ephesians 3:20 that God is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that we ask or imagine. Our responsibility should be to model the behavior we want others to follow. On education, the only way we change education in this nation is to break the backs of the teachers' unions. They are standing in the doorhouse of our kids,
demanding that they be paid.
failing schools and locking them out of the greatest future they could have.
As President, Governor DeSantis, would you support some mandatory military service for all Americans?
I think it should be voluntary. I'm somebody that volunteered to serve, inspired by September 11th. And I
He did
deployed
volunteer to
Iraq,
serve, and then he went to Gitmo
alongside
and
U.S. Navy SEALs
oversaw
in places
torture.
like Fallujah, Ramadi. And it's something that I think has taught me, you know, when you go in that
I agree,
that type of
Roger. They should be
environment,
separate.
anything you have, your personal agenda, you check it at the door. You go there, and it's about focusing on the mission above all else. And guys come together.
His mission
and they
was
get it
torturing people in
done.
Gitmo.
And that's how I
That was
would
his mission.
view being the President of the United States. It's not about me. It's not about all these other side issues. My sole focus will be on your future and reversing this country's decline.
Okay, now for something
He was there as he watched them being tortured and pretended to be on their side, but then took the information they were bringing him and used it against them. He was mentally making worse. Oh, UFOs. Here we go. We have an alien emote.
We've been hearing a lot of testimony in Congress, and people are taking this a lot more seriously. And we're hearing that, there are things going on that people aren't aware of.
He gets the UFO question.
If you were president, Governor Christie, would you level
There's no alien emote.
with the American
I have to work on that.
people about what the government knows about these possible encounters?
Martha, and especially coming from a woman from New Jersey, I think it's horrible that just because I'm from New Jersey, you asked me about unidentified flying objects and Martians. We're different, but we're not that different. Look, of course, the job of the President of the United States is to level with the American people about everything. The job of the President of the United States is to stand for truth. The job of the President of the United States is to be a role model for our children and our grandchildren. And so whether it was UFOs or this problem of education, and Tim's right, by the way.
He didn't answer the UFO
I started
question.
this in 2010 by going right after the teachers' unions in New Jersey and drove them down to an all-time low popularity rating because they were putting themselves before our kids. That is the biggest threat to our country, not UFOs.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, coming up, we've got closing arguments, plus right after the debate, Hannity is
Louis doesn't
live
want to be on
from
the show.
Spin Room right here in the Fiserv Forum with reaction from all the candidates. As soon as they step off the stage, we'll be back after this.
Oh, more gold. But yeah, I think teachers' unions are great. Unions are great. It's a good thing. A union is just a tiny government, They have members, aka constituents. They have dues, aka taxes. They have a treasurer. They have an elected president. They have elected treasurers. They have elected positions within that union, and the union works to work with the company to, sometimes against the company, to get the people more money for the hard work they do. I think unions are a good idea, and I support the idea. And teachers definitely need a union. None of these people complain about cop unions or police unions because they're probably on board for the police unions, but not the teachers unions, which is kind of, again, more mixed messaging from the Republicans. Yes to police unions, no to teachers unions. Yes to jailing people for weed, no to jailing people for fentanyl. It's just very strange. They're dropping coffee bombs. Sergeant, we're dropping coffee bombs. Coffee bombs. Yeah, unions are ingrained in the and praised part of the U.S. American culture and history. I agree, and I agree. I think unions are a good thing. There are only two kinds of power in the world: capitalist power, like money, buying things, hiring people, or collective power, which is government and unions. Unions coming together, a collective group of people, and coming together to get something done. If you want to do anything within our country, you have to do one of those two things. You either hire somebody to do the thing, or you get enough people together to do the thing. Those are the only options you have. I can't think of any third power. Unions protect their own and can easily fire a teacher for bullshit if they're in a union. If they are in a union, if the union decides to fire that teacher, I mean, isn't that a democratic kind of situation? And yes, unions protect their own. That's kind of a thing that they do. That's the unionization. You can't get fired. We stand together. That way one of us can't be picked off. You can't easily fire a teacher for bullshit if they are in a union. You're right. I read that wrong. You can't easily fire a teacher for bullshit if they are in a union. I agree. And that's a good thing. That's a strong thing. That's a thing that everybody should have. Everybody in our country should have that ability, Will you be prepared? Oh, it's this guy. Again, with the solar panel. No, this guy's a fucking China shill. Look at him. Shilling this solar-powered device built in China. I don't know why he would. He said no to the generator that's belching out smoke and burning fossil fuels. No, sir. This guy is such a China shell. It's rough. This guy wasn't watching the more mixed messaging, I suppose. Unions are also a stark sign that something is amiss. If people are unionizing, they're trying to fix a problem they're experiencing. You're right. Unions are anti-oppression. Yeah, I think you're right. It's the people coming together, unionized, being one and indivisible. I think this is a good thing. It's a democracy thing. It is a strength that democracies can have. Unions are pro-democracy, but Republicans are anti-democracy. They have been for a couple of decades now. Anti-democracy. Yeah, which is why it scares Republicans in power. It scares the Democrats in power too. Unions do scare the Democrats, but the unions pay the Democrats generally because Democrats say things that the unions like, and are more likely to accept them and their existence. A lot of the neoliberals and or neo-Dems and stuff like that don't care. Oh, another gold ad. All right. I think we're going to get closing statements here and then take a quick break, and then we'll swap over to the Donald Trump thing if you guys want to watch that. I don't think it'll be 2 hours long. I bet it's only 20, 30 minutes. The Ronald Reagan Presidential Library. Oops.
2024 showdown.
Fox Business is a debate on September 27th. It looks pretty nice there. 20 years ago, 70% of American adults
Why is he their
said
Messiah?
they were extremely
Because
proud
he's mean
to be an American.
and spiteful.
That number has now
and
plummeted
they like that.
to
They
just
love
39%.
that stuff.
In his pitch to get to the Oval Office, President Reagan called America the shining city on a hill, a beacon of hope and optimism.
Too bad.
So in your
Watch
closing
anyway.
statement tonight, please tell American voters
We're going
why
to jump to
you
that
are
as
the
soon as we're done with
person
this
who can
closing statement.
inspire this nation to a better day. These are 45 seconds, and we begin with Governor Burgum.
I understand why America's hurting. Biden's inflation is choking us. I grew up in a small town.
Why did Biden turn the inflation knob up? What a maniac.
My mom, widow of 3,
Why
went
would he
back
do
to
that?
work. Every job I had growing up was one where I took a shower at the end of the day, not at the beginning of the day. Our cities are less safe
One
because of
person
the fentanyl
wooed
pouring into this country.
for showers.
Our economy is being crushed by Biden's energy policies, which are raising the cost of every product you buy, not just the gasoline at the pump.
Why did Biden turn the gas pump dial up? He got into the White House and he just turned that dial way up.
Not crawling like it is right now.
Why would he do that?
Say that other
He hates
thing is
America?
for sure,
Yeah, I think you're right.
I'm on a horseback in the Badlands of North Dakota. It looks like the horizon is just limitless. And when you can almost see beyond
this
that
guy rides
horizon,
horses.
you can see
This is
that
very
this
important.
great country, our future is unlimited. But we've got to focus on innovation, not regulation. We've got to cut the red tape. We've got to drive ourselves forward. The way we win the Cold War with China is by growing our economy and through innovation.
Double dinged. They're dinging him again. This guy get double dinged again. It's the second time tonight he's been double dinged.
I will improve every American life.
Well, we hope you're back on your horse soon, Governor.
Double dinged.
Our nation is in trouble, and it's in trouble because of failed leadership. And the solution is not 4 more years of Joseph Biden. The solution is not 4 more years of Donald Trump. The solution is new leadership that can bring bold ideas to America and to bring out the best of America. A president's #1 responsibility is to bring out the best of our people. That's what Ronald Reagan did. And he did it with optimism and hope for our country, with a consistent
Ronald Reagan,
conservatism.
peace be upon him.
That's exactly what
Holy
I
is his
bring.
name.
As president, I'll bring out the best of America in terms of individual responsibility, building our economy, in terms of securing our border, enforcing the rule of law. I'll bring out the best of America in terms of our national character, our faith, and our hope for the future. Join in this fight, asa2024.com.
Thank you. Senator Scott.
Thank you. I was a disillusioned young man growing up in a single-parent household mired in poverty. I wondered
Yeah,
if the
channeling
American
Reagan.
dream was real for
He's
a
a
kid
medium.
like me. I can stand before you today and say the dream is alive, it is well, and
Oh,
it
I
is
wonder if I
healthy.
could do that.
I
I
have
wonder
the
if you
good
could just
fortune of a mom who works
pretend
16-hour
to be
days, making sure we have food on our
talking to the
tables.
ghost
She
of
taught me
Reagan
that if
and
you're
just
able-bodied
run
in
straight
America,
face. I
you work.
talk to
If you take out a
Ronald
loan,
Reagan at night.
you pay it back.
He's a ghost.
You commit a
He speaks to
violent
me.
crime, you go to jail. And if God made you a man, you play sports against men. I'm Tim Scott. I'm asking you for your vote, and if you're in Iowa, I'm asking you to caucus for me. You can go to votetimscott.com for more information or to make a contribution.
Lame.
Governor Christie.
Thank you, Brett. Thank you, Martha. Look, everybody on this stage wants to be the next president of the United States. And the only way that's going to happen is if we beat Joe Biden. I'm the only one on this stage who's ever beaten a Democratic incumbent in an election. I did it in a deep blue state, being outspent 3-1. Beating a Democratic incumbent is not easy. The last Democratic incumbent president who was defeated was Jimmy Carter. And he was defeated by a conservative governor from a blue state who knew how to get results,
I wonder who
stood
he's
for
talking
the
about.
truth,
Who's he talking
who
about?
cared about accountability,
Who's he talking about?
and stood strong and hard against waste. Those are the very things that I did in my 8 years as governor of New Jersey.
Oh, he teased us.
And
He
it's
didn't say the
exactly
name.
what I'll do as president of the United States. Believe me, the Democrats want some other nominee who's never beaten a Democratic incumbent. I'm the one who can win this race, and if you give me the chance, I will restore our country by winning it.
Thank you. Governor Haley.
Several weeks ago, I dropped my husband, Michael, a combat veteran from Afghanistan, off at 4 a.m. for another year-long deployment. I watched him and 230 soldiers pick up their 2 duffel bags of belongings to go to a country they had never been, all in the name of protecting America. If they are willing to protect us from there, we should be willing to fight for America here. I will beat Joe Biden, and he knows that. I will strengthen our economy, and we'll bring this inflation down. We will put transparency in the classroom. We will secure our borders. We will have the backs of our law enforcement, and we will make sure we have a strong national security. And once again, we will make sure we have an America that is strong and proud. We have a country to save. Join us. Go to NikkiHaley.com, and let's get it done.
Vice President Pence.
I know, waving that flag pretty hard.
Martha, for this evening. It's an honor to be here. Joe Biden has weakened America at home and abroad. The disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan,
which you
planned.
You planned for him to do that.
Runaway spending that launched the worst inflation in 40 years, a crisis at our southern border, an assault on our values and liberties, and the American people have had enough. But I know we can bring it back. But different times call for different leadership. The Republican Party owes the American people a choice. Proven leadership at the national level that knows how to move a conservative agenda forward. We proved in the Trump-Pence years you can turn this country around faster than you can imagine. And I have faith we will again.
If you make up the numbers and over-exaggerate what the previous guy said
good, decent,
and did.
hard-working, faith-filled, idealistic people of this country, and I have faith that God is not done with America yet. And if we will renew our faith in one another and renew our faith in Him who has ever guided this nation since we arrived on these wilderness shores, I know the best days for the greatest nation on earth are yet to come.
I think that him in that sentence was capitalized.
I was born in 1985, and I grew up into a generation where we were taught to celebrate our diversity and our differences so much that we forgot all of the ways we are really just the same as Americans, bound by a common set of ideals that set this nation into motion in 1776. And this is our moment to revive those common ideals. God is real. There are 2 genders. Fossil fuels are a requirement for human prosperity. Reverse racism is racism.
Reverse racism. Oh my God.
Parents determine the education of their children. The nuclear family is the greatest form of governance known to man. Capitalism lifts us up from poverty. There are 3 branches of government, not 4. And the U.S. Constitution is the strongest
What's he talking about?
of freedom in human history. That is what won us the American Revolution. That is what will win us the revolution of 2024. Thanks for letting me introduce myself tonight. Thank you.
Yeah, he gets his politics from 4chan and Ben Shapiro. You're right. From /poll. Fucking guy.
Governor, this
He's
is
waiting
our
for them
time
to stop
for
screaming.
choosing. We will send Joe Biden back to his basement, and we will reverse the decline of this country.
You said that at the beginning.
I'm a blue-collar kid. I worked minimum wage jobs to be able to make ends meet. I understand the importance of the American dream, and I know how that slipped away from so many millions of Americans. We'll restore it.
Because of
I'm a veteran
capitalism.
who served in Iraq. I know what it means to put
Bunker.
service
Yeah,
above
the bunker
self.
is the
I'm also a dad and a
thing
husband
that
to 6'5" and
Trump used to
3-year-old.
throw at him.
I understand the
It's a Trump
importance
insult
of protecting
that this guy
parents'
stole.
rights and the well-being of our children. In Florida, we showed it could be done.
Yeah, you're
I
right.
made
He's from Tampa.
promises, and I delivered on all of those promises. 2024 is make or break. We're not getting a mulligan. No excuses. I will get the job done, and as your president, I will not let you down. God bless you all.
The job's fascism, and he will get it done. I believe in that.
I want to say thank you. Thank you to all the candidates on the stage tonight, and thank you to Milwaukee.
Thank you, everybody. We will see you on the campaign trail from debates
Right.
to primaries to the general election.
Why did it sound like he was quoting himself? Because he said it earlier in the evening. You gotta. It's like a TikTok. You have to start and then end where you started, so that it makes a circle. Oh geez. Well, you guys jam out. I'm gonna go grab a drink of water, and I'll be back in 5 minutes. We'll find the Trump interview. Okay? Be right back. Talk in chat, or gamble in chat. Did the music end? That's too bad. Alright, well, I'm back. What happened to my hair? I'd hate to look ridiculous. So, that was a lot of fun. A lot of wieners roasted. Very fun. So let's find the Trump interview, which was recorded days ago, apparently. Let's see. Can I find a place to watch it? Skipping the GOP debate. Trump speaks with Tucker Carlson, but can we watch it? Pre-taped interview. I've got websites telling me what happened, but where can I watch it? It's on X. Oh God. All right. I suppose I could bring that up. Here we go. There's the X. How do I get to it once I'm on that site, though? Home or something. God. Click on. Oh God. Now I'm looking at Tucker Carlson. Oh, gross. I'm looking at him on Twitter. Here we go. Can we watch the thing? Episode 9, debate night with Donald Trump. Okay, 46 minutes. I think that's the whole thing. Can we watch it? 46 minutes? That sounds about right, right? We're gonna
saying, do I sit there for an hour or 2 hours, whatever it's going to be, and
that's too big.
Get harassed by people that
harassed
shouldn't even be running for president? Should I be doing that? And a network that isn't particularly friendly to me, frankly.
Oh no, Fox News not friendly enough to him.
They were
That's
back
so sad.
around to sanctimonious like crazy, and now they've given up on him. I mean,
I wanted to call him
it's a
Meatball.
lost cause.
What happened to Meatball, Ron?
Reminded me very much of 2016. You know,
How's the volume, you guys?
2016, I went through the same stuff and had to fight them all the way, and then they became very friendly after I won, or just about when I was winning. But I just felt it would be more appropriate not to do the debate.
Okay,
I don't
good.
think it's right to do it. If you're leading by 50, 60, I have one problem leading by 70 points, and I'm saying, why am I doing it? And I'm going to have 8 people, 10 people, whoever made the debate, I don't know how many it is, but I'm going to have all these people screaming at me, shouting questions at me, all of which I love answering, I love doing, but it doesn't make sense to do them. So I've taken a pass, as you probably noticed.
Well, I did. I'm grateful that you did. It's interesting, though, because you spent a lot of your career in television.
Yeah.
You had a top show in television on NBC. But you don't feel the need now running for president to do television, obviously. Do you think television is declining?
Well, because they ask him questions he doesn't want to answer. They tell him that he is not saying a true thing.
Well, according to a poll that I guess we just saw, it just came out where it's down like 30, 35%, but I think they were referring to cable. I think cable's down because it's lost credibility. MSNBC, or as they say,
that's why people aren't
MSDNC is so bad. It's so
paying for cable anymore.
Wrong what they write and what they do and what they say. It's it's fake news, as I said.
No,
I think I came up with that term. I hope I did because it's a good one. It's not tough enough anymore. It's corrupt news. You know, really what you do is call it corrupt news, but somehow that doesn't play as nicely. But it is corrupt news. So you have MSNBC and you have CNN, who's absolutely doing no ratings at all. I mean, they're dead. But they're doing none because they don't have credibility. They
Because
really
the internet
don't have
exists.
credibility. Fox is way down, as you know. And
the only reason it was up there is because the old folks watched it.
Long ago.
They don't know how the internet
I will say
works.
this, it could come back, but they just don't have a lot of credibility, Tucker. You know that perhaps better than anybody. I think it was a terrible move getting rid of you. You were #1 on television, and all of a sudden we're doing this interview, but we'll get bigger ratings using this crazy forum that you're using than probably
Crazy forum.
Probably the debate or competition.
When you say there are people on stage who shouldn't be running for president, who do you mean?
Well, I don't want to really use names, but it wouldn't matter too much. A guy like, I call him Ada Hutchinson.
Ada Hutchinson.
But I call him Ada.
Why do you call him Ada?
Why? I could tell you, but I don't want to get myself in a little trouble.
Because it's a girl's name.
Pathetic, and he was. I never understood the guy. Never knew him. He was the governor of Arkansas. Not
Danielle
a very popular
Trump
guy.
calls
I don't know how
somebody's
that
black
state is
girl's
such
name.
a great state. The people are so incredible in that state, and they love me, and I love them. How does this guy get elected governor of Arkansas? But he's nasty always, and has been.
Yeah, I think you're right. He
a
is
guy
a little
like
bit
Chris
low energy
Christie,
here.
A guy left with a
Saves it for the
8%. Think of it, 8% approval
rallies,
rating in
I
New
suppose.
Jersey. Now he's running for president, and he runs solely on the basis, oh, let's get Trump. He's like a savage maniac. He's like a lunatic.
You're in the lead,
and that's all he
dumbass.
talks about. His poll numbers are very, very low. He's about 2%.
That's how you win.
What's he
is you
like?
attack
You
the
know
person
him
in the
well.
lead.
I've been friendly with him over the years, but I couldn't give him a job because I just never trusted him very much. I was
trust
just
him.
never one of his
Fucking
people
Christ.
that really trusted him. I never gave him the job, and that's one of the reasons he feels so hurt and so betrayed.
That makes me like him more.
And I understand that.
Donald
I
Trump
really
doesn't
do.
trust
I
him.
understand it, but I never gave him. You know, he wanted to be different things. He was looking at different elements of the administration, and we decided. I decided just I didn't want to do it, and now I'm glad I did because you see. But you know, we had some great people. I had great people. We'll have even better people if we do this because now I know Washington. Before I didn't know Washington. But guys like Bill Barr were terrible. I mean, they were,
Bill Barr,
I would say, Bushies.
The guy who saved you.
I say that with respect to the Bush family, but they were Bushies, and it doesn't work out for us.
It was clear, this is kind of far afield, but it was just interesting. I read Barr's account of his time. He wrote a book about it.
Right.
His autobiography. And in it, he lies about Jeffrey Epstein's death. Clearly lies. Do you think Epstein killed himself sincerely?
Oh.
I don't know.
Now we're getting to the good stuff,
I will
guys.
say that, you know, he was a fixture in Palm Beach.
Yeah.
I don't know what Barr said about it either. I have no idea what he said. What did he say? He killed himself, probably?
He said he killed himself and that they were going to do this investigation. They never did the investigation. It's never been public.
Because it
and
was
they hid
obvious.
it, and like, why are they doing that?
He
And
didn't
clearly
do-
Barr knew. But why would Bill Barr be covering up the death of Jeffrey Epstein?
Because we know everything we need to know about it. Sometimes you do an investigation, you find out that it really did happen the way it happened. I'd like to do an investigation into the color of the sky. Hey, look, after millions of dollars, we found out that the sky is blue. What are you hiding, Waldo?
Bill Barr didn't do an investigation on the election fraud either, okay? He said he did, and he pretended he did, but
It
he
took
didn't.
him
McSwain,
5
the
minutes.
U.S.
That's
attorney
good.
in
That's more than I thought it would take.
Pennsylvania, Philadelphia.
I was thinking under
said
2.
Barr just wouldn't let him do it. It was crazy.
Barr did the investigations.
Became so petrified,
and they
so
proved you wrong.
frightened of being impeached. They were going to impeach him. I don't know if you remember it.
Yeah.
It's not a big moment in
Because
history.
he's a liar.
But they said, we're going to impeach. You know, they play a much rougher game, the left, the lunatics. And they were going to impeach Bill Barr.
The much rougher game from Nancy Pelosi. She plays a very rough game. The fucking Chuck Schumer playing super rough games. Very rough games. Good Lord, this pansy-ass bitch. He's a whiny little bitch.
Barr, and he was petrified. Now, how do you not get impeached? Don't do any of this stuff. But he didn't do the job there. I don't know what he did with Epstein, but possibly he didn't.
Do you think it's
that.
possible that Epstein was killed?
Oh, sure, it's possible. I mean, I don't really believe.
You were
I
in
think
charge
he
of the government at the time,
probably,
boss.
Committed
You were.
suicide. He had a life with, you know, beautiful homes and beautiful everything, and he all of a sudden he's incarcerated and not doing very well. I would say that he did, but there are those people. There are many people. I think you're one of them, right?
He
But
doesn't
a
know
lot of
what
people
Epstein
think
did.
that he was killed. He knew a lot on a lot of people.
He was killed.
You think so?
I think the closer you look, I'm not a conspiracy person at all.
You're not a conspiracy
I believe
person. Yet
everything
here
I
you
hear.
are spouting conspiracy.
But yeah, the closer you look into it, I mean, the Attorney General of the United States, your Attorney General, clearly lied about the Epstein death.
Yeah,
And
he was.
Why?
He was certainly. It wasn't well done. They had no cameras. They had no anything. Everybody was sleeping, and you know, a case could be made. Look, I'm not going to get involved.
Man, it was a. We should probably yell at the person who's in charge of the executive branch during that time. Who was it though?
Did it, but I can tell you, a case could be made either way. But it certainly wasn't the most well-run place.
So the reason I'm asking you is I'm looking
You
at the
were in charge of the
trajectory
government.
since 2015 when you got into politics,
Yeah.
you know, for real, and then won.
And your friend died.
It started with
Donald Trump,
protests
friends
against
with
you,
Epstein.
massive protests,
Right.
organized protests by the left, and then it moved to impeachment twice.
Right.
And
'Cause
now
of the crimes he
indictment.
committed.
I mean, the next stage is
Indictment.
violence. Are you worried that they're going to try and kill you? Why wouldn't they try and kill you? Honestly.
They're savage animals. They are people that are sick.
Joe Biden, Nancy Pelosi, savage animals. This fucking guy is. What planet does he live on?
Really sick. You have great people in the Democrat party. You have great people that are Democrats. Most of the people in our country are fantastic, and I'm representing everybody. I'm not just Republicans or conservatives. I represent everybody. I'm the president of everybody.
Oh, you represent everybody, huh?
But I've seen what they do. I've seen the lengths that they go to. When they make up the Russia, when that's exposed and they go down, and Barr should have gone after them, and other people should have gone after, and they did very late, because the Durham report came out. It was fairly good. It could have been a lot tougher, I guess, but it was fairly good. But it explained how corrupt it was. I'll tell you who did a great job was the Inspector General Horowitz. He did a phenomenal report. You didn't have to go to Durham. He did it on Comey and on, I guess, McCabe and some others. And it was a vicious, it was basically a true report, how bad they are.
It was true because it was
but
mean to the people he doesn't like.
Sick people. These are people that I think they hate our country. You want to know the truth. When you see open borders, when you see these policies that they have, and so many other things, it's so sad to see. You know, we have a country that's very fragile right now.
If foreigners came here, it wouldn't be the same country anymore. That's a very racist statement, Danielle.
I've never seen, I will say, look, I ran in 16, which was 15, but I ran in 16, election in 16, and there was tremendous spirit. In 20, there was even more spirit. We got millions and millions more votes. You know, it wasn't even a contest.
And
people said,
still
well, what do you
fewer
think
than
of 20? I said, we did much better. We did. You got to
And
base
not as
it
good
on
as
the number
Biden.
of votes. We
You
got
came in
many
second.
more votes in 20 than we did in 16.
They got
But
more.
the election was rigged. It was a rigged election. And with COVID, they used COVID to cheat in a lot of different things.
No,
and
they
we
didn't.
have so much on it. It's like so easy.
So much on it.
But we had judges that didn't want to look. We had people didn't want to get involved. They called you, he's a conspiracy theorist if you say anything about the election. But I have never seen spirit like there is right now. Even coming down here, just the people on the road that are
Because you
just
surround yourself with yes men.
absolutely going crazy. And the reason is, I think they like me, and I know they love my policies. I hope they like me too. You know, a lot of people say they don't like me, but they like my policies. I think they like me. But I have never seen spirit like it is right now. And the reason is because crooked Joe Biden is so bad. He's the worst president in the history of our country.
He's recycling his nicknames.
I don't think
he's recycling them. It was crooked Hillary, now it's crooked Joe Biden. He's recycling them.
he's going to make it to the gate, but you know, you never know. But he's a corrupt person, so corrupt that I took the name off Hillary. You know, I don't do two people at one time. I took the crooked Hillary and I retired the name. That was a good day for her. I bet she was very happy. And I used it for Joe because it's crooked Joe. But Joe is really...
But you don't think he's going to make it to November of 24?
Well, I think he's worse mentally than he is physically. And physically, he's not exactly a triathlete or any kind of an athlete. You look at him, he can't walk to the helicopter. He walks... He can't lift his feet out of the grass. You know, it's only 2 inches at the White House, right? It's not a lot. But you watch him, and it looks like he's walking on toothpicks. So, and then you see him on the beach where he can't lift a chair. You know, those chairs are meant to be light, right? They're like 2 ounces. You lift them up. He can't lift the chair.
Weak Biden can't lift
walk
chairs.
To the chair. And I don't know what they're doing with the beach. You know, this beach is seeming to play a big role, but they love pictures of him on the beach. I think he looks terrible on the beach. He looks terrible on the beach.
Skinny legs.
Very important.
Well, he can't walk through the sand.
Policy discussion.
You know, sand is not that easy to walk through, but when he walks through it, he can't walk through the sand.
Future of the country.
And there's somebody in there that thinks
like
he looks fabulous at the beach. I think he looks horrible at the beach.
Beach photos.
Plus, the beach doesn't represent what a president's supposed to be.
He's a meme machine. You're right. He's a meme machine.
He's supposed to be getting us out of that horrible
This is why they love him. He's
war
spite
that
and
we're very
memes.
much involved in with Russia
Speedo Joe.
and Ukraine. You could do that. You could do that very easily. I believe you could do that very. I don't believe he could do it because he's just incompetent. But that's a war that should end immediately, not because of one side or the other, because hundreds of thousands of people are being
Just end the war immediately.
Can you imagine
man, why
you're
didn't
in
anybody
an
think of
apartment
that?
house and rockets are going into that building? And
oh man, why didn't anybody think of that? Just end the war. Brain exploded, man. Just end it. Just end it.
blowing it up and knocking it down, and who can? Why should anything? Why should anybody? Human beings, these are human, whether they're Russian or Ukrainian or whatever they are. It's got to be stopped, and it can be stopped very easily. It would have never started if I were president.
Say how.
it
Tell
would
us
have
how.
never started.
He's full of shit. Say how.
So back to Biden, I'm interested. So
How?
you think he's failing? He obviously is failing. I think it's
Not
clear
going to
to
ask him how.
everybody.
Softball questions.
But that would make Kamala Harris the candidate?
Well, not really. I mean, I guess they'd have maybe a free-for-all. A lot of people say she has to remain for certain reasons, the candidate. She has to. I don't think that's true, actually. I don't think that other people would stand for it. She has some bad moments. Her moments are almost as bad as his. I think his are worse, actually.
Yeah.
But
She seems pretty senile, too.
she speaks in rhyme.
She doesn't do anything. She's
It's
barely
weird.
even
It's
around,
weird.
but that's how
But
VPs are
she has
supposed
bad
to be.
moments, and
In rhyme? What do you...
Well, the way she talks, the bus will go here, and then the bus will go there, because that's what buses do. And it's weird. The whole thing is weird. This is not
That's
a
weird.
president of
No.
the United States future. And
That's weird.
I think they probably have some
They're
kind of a
weird.
primary. and
We're not
Other
weird.
people
They're
will get
weird.
involved.
Newsom, right? I mean,
Could be, could be. I mean, you know, I always got along well with him, believe it or not. But could be him, could be
Because
somebody else.
Newsom's a city guy,
He's got a
just like
big,
Trump. Trump's not a country
a
bumpkin.
big load on his shoulders, because you look at California, what's happened. But I don't know if the American people really, the people that vote for him, I don't even know if they care. You know, you look at so many of the things that are going on, and people don't seem to be. In the old days, if you had a bad record, it meant a lot. Today, if you have a bad record, it doesn't really mean anything. You know,
Says
he looks
Donald
good.
Trump.
He's a
Good God.
nice-looking guy, speaks well.
If you have a
But
bad
Biden,
record, it doesn't mean
every time
anything.
you watch him talking, it's like
True for
he's
you.
walking on eggs. You're waiting for him to collapse, and he almost always does. And I
Yeah,
got
you're
to know
right.
the leaders
We're not
of
excited
all of the countries, essentially,
about Biden,
but the
but
big ones.
He's
And
9
the
times
bigger, the
better
tougher
than
the
you.
leader. You know, it's like sort
Yeah.
of, I guess maybe that's the way it's supposed to be. But I got to know President Xi of China and Putin and Kim Jong-un, North Korea. Did a great job with North Korea. Kept us out of
No,
a
you
nuclear
didn't.
war. We would have
They don't have nuclear
40,000
weapons.
dead soldiers right now.
No,
They drop a
you're
nuke
out of
right
your
on top of
mind.
the military base. But we have
None of
40,000
those things are real.
soldiers over there. And I did great. I got along with him great. It's a good. That's a
I
positive.
saved a
You know,
billion
the press
lives,
said, he
you know?
said nice things about Kim Jong-un.
So
I also
I don't know
said
why
horrible
everybody's
things at the
talking shit about
beginning.
me. Saved a billion lives.
Horrible enough that he wanted to talk. And we talked, and we met in Singapore. We met actually twice. And we had unbelievable meetings. I know him very well. We were in great shape
Unbelievable
with
meetings.
them.
And did any policy come out of that?
What do you
Did
think he and
get
Xi
anything
and
done?
Putin think of Biden?
No,
I
just
think
nice.
they can't
nice.
believe it. I think they probably say this is some kind of a system. You know, they had great respect for our country. They respected me. They had great respect for
No,
our country.
they did not.
When I was there, every one of them. Look, if
They
you
did
go
not
to-
respect you.
If you
They
go
think you're a
to
clown.
North Korea, you take a look at what happened. You know, the Olympics was dead. South Korea spent billions on the Olympics. Nobody was going to go. They didn't want to get blown up. They called me and they said,
"What?
We are going to let the Olympics proceed." This is North Korea. I said, "You should go into the Olympics. Put your athletes in." It wasn't like, you know.
Was that a thing? Is that some weird right-wing conspiracy thing that the Olympics in South Korea were going to be bombed by North Korea? And then North Korea, in being the benevolent good guys they are, said, you know, we'll allow it. I don't know what planet this man lives on.
They were big on athletes because, you know.
Famine.
But they went in and they actually participated. And within about
They're
2
not
days,
big on
the
athletes in
entire
North
thing
Korea.
was sold out. And if it wasn't me, that would have never happened.
If it
but
wasn't
I got
for
along
me,
very well with him, and that's
nobody would have bought
positive
tickets
thing.
to the Olympics.
He does have massive nuclear power, by the way.
No, he doesn't.
And if Hillary would
It's
have
not
gotten
real.
in, or if the Obama thought process continued, it would have been a nuclear war, absolutely, with North Korea. He was
No,
he was
they have
expecting to
nothing.
go into a war, and it would have been a nuclear
They
war.
have nothing.
What, so do you think
They
the
do not
rest
have
of the
the
world looks on at
capability to
Biden
create
and thinks
those things.
someone
They
else has got
don't.
to be running the government?
They can
Well,
barely
somebody
keep the
else has
lights
to
on.
be.
They barely have electricity in the
I
damn
don't
country.
think he's capable of doing
No.
anything. Look, when I debated him, I said, how come, and this was in front of probably not a friend of yours, Chris Wallace. He was the moderator.
Not a friend.
I said, why
Chris
is
Wallace.
it he
Shots
wants
fired
to
at
be
Chris
Mike,
Wallace.
but he doesn't have the talent? It's one of those
Bitchy little man.
He wanted to be
bitchy
his
little man.
father,
Ooh.
but he didn't have the
Drama
talent of
llamas.
his father was great. His
He's a
father,
little fussy man.
his father interviewed me in 60 Minutes. It was actually a 10. Can you believe
I
it?
totally.
may
His
have got-
father had talent, at
No,
least.
I may have been the only guy that he gave
Tucker
a good
called somebody
60
a bitchy
minutes. So
man.
he was rough.
Really?
His father was tough. He was great.
I
though.
can't.
He was great at what
with
he
these
did. But,
people who
Chris Wallace was so upset. He was guarding this guy who wouldn't do a show, by the way. You know, he wouldn't do. I figured I didn't mind Chris Wallace because he wouldn't do Biden wouldn't do a show, and it was very obvious. You know, he kept asking him and asking, but he wouldn't do the show.
He's
so
been
I
off
figured
the
he's
deep
got to
end.
like me, but
Roger, he's
he
been
came
there for a
from
while.
a different planet. But remember when I asked the question, why is it that the mayor of Moscow's wife is allowed to give you $3.5 million?
Crazy vibes. Right,
Don't
for
forget,
sure.
that was brought up. Now it's brought up all the time, but that was brought up by me long before anyone ever heard of it. I said, the mayor of Moscow's wife giving you $3.5 million. What did you do to deserve $3.5 million? To Biden. And Chris Wallace said, this has nothing to do with the debate. I mean, he fought.
He got in the way of the question.
No, well, it was crazy. And I said, well, wait a minute. He got $3.5 million from the mayor of Moscow's wife. Now, people forget that, but if you go back and take a look, you will see. And Chris Wallace
probably
didn't want
not the
me
way you
to ask
laid it
that
out.
question.
I don't know what the hell he's
said,
even
I think
talking
it's a very
about.
appropriate question. It turned out to be much more appropriate than people thought.
The laughs are creepy.
Amazing.
I agree.
So
The weirdo.
do you have a preference in assuming
Fox
you're the
News was
Republican
probably
nominee
like
and all goes as you plan it to go?
respectable place
Do you have a
with
preference in who you run
producers
against?
who cut that shit out, or
In
made them
many
stop
ways,
doing
I'd love
it.
to run against him.
He's
because his
off the
record's
chain.
so
He's
bad.
off the leash
It's
now.
still horrible when you look at inflation and everything else, but others also have very bad records. I mean, California's a bad record, so, you know, should it be Gavin or should it be somebody else? When I look at San Francisco, what's happened to that incredible city? That was one of the greatest cities in the world just a short while.
Gone now. Everything in San Francisco got smashed and grabbed. The entire city gone, flat as a pancake out there. I don't know if you've been near San Francisco lately, but everything's gone. Every brick, every mortar, every single building ceased to exist.
A while ago, and now it's very sad when you look at it. Los Angeles, every city practically, all the Democrat-run cities. You know, Republican-run cities are doing very nicely because they arrest people when you have crimes, and they don't go after political candidates.
Donald Trump, you committed a whole bunch of crimes, and we are going to arrest you tomorrow.
Because they think it's good, you know. I mean, it's like been amazing. My poll numbers are the highest I've ever had. But because people understand it.
Can I just ask you, that gets back to my original question. So if the protest didn't work, you got elected anyway.
Yeah.
Impeachment didn't work twice, obviously. Indictment is not working. Your poll numbers go up. When they raided Mar-a-Lago in August of last year, your numbers went up. They can indict you 20 times, and you're not going to lose the Republican primary because of that.
Well,
so
it makes it look even more
makes
ridiculous.
the Republicans bad
the
people.
4 indictments, and maybe there'll be more. I don't know. These people are crazy.
But they're counterproductive. So if you chart it out, it's an escalation, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So what's next after, try to put you in prison for the rest of your life? That's not working. So
they love it.
Don't they have to kill you now?
He's deplorable. They're deplorable.
I think the people of our country
they like it.
Don't get enough credit for how smart they are. And I'm not sure I would have said this 10 years ago, but they get it. You know, they really get it. When somebody gets indicted, your poll numbers go down. When somebody gets indicted, you announce, ladies and gentlemen, I'll be leaving to spend time with my family and to fight for the rest of my life on this stuff. But you're out of politics. I got indicted 4 times. All trivia, nonsense, bullshit. It's all bullshit.
No.
It's horrible when you look.
You're going to go down for
and you
these
look
things.
at what they're doing. The boxes hoax, I'm covered by the Presidential Records Act. I'm allowed to do exactly that. He's not covered, and he's got 25 times the number of boxes, and he's got them stored in Chinatown. He's got them stored in a flimsy garage underneath his Corvette.
Chinatown.
At Penn. And by the way, at Penn, he gets millions of dollars. China pays this guy millions of dollars. See, I think he's the most corrupt president we've ever had. And he also has the distinction of being the most incompetent. And I believe both. I mean, he's both incompetent and corrupt.
So
and
who
I
is running the
actually
government?
believe he's compromised because China knows so much about him. They know where the money comes from. They know where it is, who paid it, and they probably
Any evidence,
paid it.
or are you just making stuff
Well,
up?
they do pay
Just
Penn,
making shit up.
and he gets $1 million. I think he takes $999,000 because keeps it a little bit under $1 million, like by $1. But he, in many ways, is a Manchurian candidate. We have a Manchurian candidate.
Shit up.
And he's afraid to tell Russia to get out of Cuba. He's afraid to tell China to get out of Cuba. He's afraid. China now is building, think of this. China is building military installations in Cuba. The Cuban population of Miami is not too happy because they're never going to be able to go back.
I don't think any of that's real or true.
And you don't
Just
even
making
hear
shit
about
up.
it. And the worst culprit is the press, the media, because normally, when I first heard that China's building installations
It was a
in
book.
Cuba. And
I'm surprised he
installations
knows that
means
term,
military
Manchurian
installations,
Candidate.
okay?
It was a
You know,
book.
they said just some communication.
That he's never read.
They did that on the islands with
I don't think he's ever read a
Japan.
book.
They took the island, they started this massive construction, and they told everybody, including the Japanese have to be very careful. They told everybody that this is a housing development. They're going to build a housing development. And I said, how come the runway is 20,000 feet long? You know, private jets need 4,000 feet. They don't need 20,000 feet. The big ones need 20,000 feet.
Has his own
they don't even need
conspiracy bubble
and I
that he
looked at
just
the
brings
runway,
with
I
him
said,
everywhere he goes.
That's the largest runway ever built.
Biden is a
both
Japanese
in width
puppet and a
length
Chinese puppet and a Russian
for
puppet
housing
and a Ukrainian
development.
puppet.
There's nobody that has
he's
a
all
plane that
puppet
big
the whole day.
that you would have a runway that's
Why
that's
is
for
China
testing.
allowed to conduct imperialism in our hemisphere?
Well, yeah, and it's far beyond Cuba.
Good,
it's all
good
over
question,
South
Tucker. We should
America.
bomb
the Caribbean?
immediately.
So
I
we
suppose.
built a thing
Is that
called the
your answer?
Panama Canal. We lost 35,000 people to the mosquito, you know, malaria.
Yeah.
We lost 35,000 people building. We lost 35,000 people because of the mosquito. Vicious. They had to build under nets. It was one of the true great wonders of the world. As he said, one of the 9 wonders of the world. No, it was one of the 7. It happened a little while ago, you know. It says 9 wonders of the world. You
This
could
is our
make 9
hemisphere.
wonders.
You're right.
He would have been
Roxas
better
Matters.
off
Get
if
out
he
of our
stuck with the 9
hemisphere.
and just said, yeah, I think it's 9.
Get lost.
But this is one of the true 7 wonders of the world. And you take a look at the Panama Canal. It was such a...
You know what? Cuba. Obama tried to normalize things with Cuba and started lifting the embargo so that they would be our friend in this hemisphere. And if they're our friend, they wouldn't be China's friend. But Donald Trump put a stop to that. So now they're our antagonist and our enemy again. So who do they have to work with? Not us. Where are they going to go? They're going to go to China. This is why diplomacy is good and works. And just calling somebody the enemy and ignoring them and harming them doesn't make them happy. It doesn't make us more safe. It makes us less safe.
An incredible engineering marvel. We sold it under Jimmy Carter. We sold it to Panama for $1.
That was the plan all
The
along.
following day, they quadrupled the amount of money that ships had to pay to get across. They didn't lose one ship. And now they've made it much bigger, and now they've widened it. They've doubled it, right? They've more than doubled it. And it's one of the most profitable things. Any time it's just incredible, right? We gave it away for $1. China now controls it. They actually control the Panama Canal. They run it, they control it. And we shouldn't let that happen. And we can't let China be in Cuba.
Is that a
And
thing?
they'll get
China
out.
runs
If
the
I'm
Panama
president,
Canal?
they'll
That
get
sounds
out.
unreal.
Because I had a very good relationship with President Xi, but he respected this country. He respected me.
And even if they did, you know
And
why
he'll
they
get out.
do? Capitalism.
And we can't let them run the Panama Canal. We built the Panama Canal. Should have never been given to
Good night. Thanks for
Panama.
coming in,
We
Roxy.
should have had it. But we gave it for $1. Think of it. They quadrupled. In one day, they lifted the fees, which are, you know, pretty big for these massive ships to go through, right? Rather than going around the Cape and
inventing
through all
new
the tremendous
conspiracy
storms,
theories. It's
such
amazing.
beauty, such, you know, it's beautiful stuff. But you didn't want to get caught in those storms. Those were storms that wiped out the biggest ships. And we go through the Panama
Storms wipe out the
Canal, we
biggest
built
ships.
it, and we gave it away for $1. Think of that, how stupid are we? We have done the stupidest things in this country. And now we have a president that can't put 2 sentences together, can't speak, can't walk, can't talk. I don't think he gets to the starting gate, but these people do miracles.
He's still better
he
than
ran
you.
out of his basement.
I'd still vote for him
And you
over
got away
you.
with that one because of COVID, so he sort of got away with it. They cheated on the election.
They
But
did
you have
not.
people that are very smart, but
lost.
they're fascists and they're radical left
They're
lunatics, and they're
fascists.
destroying
Fucking
our
guy.
country with the all-electric cars.
He checks all the boxes on
and
the
the
fascist
windmills all over the
checklist.
place, which, by the way, don't
Checklist.
work, and they're all, most of them made in China. For the most part, they're made in China. Germany a little bit, but China. But you look at what's happening to our country, even no voter ID. I mean, why don't they want voter ID? There's only one reason they don't want voter ID, because they want to cheat. I mean, who doesn't want, you know, the Democrat convention, the last one, they had voter ID that was this big. It looked like a prison card, this big on their chest.
What?
You walked in, they had your picture, your this,
What's he
your
talking
fingerprint. You had
about?
everything. The most incredible voter ID I've ever seen. That was to get into the Democrat National Convention. But to get in to vote, if you buy groceries, if you buy practically anything now, you have ID on a card, credit cards or otherwise. And
But don't you think it's racist to have to show your ID?
well, they probably say that. They use anything not to show ID.
He doesn't know what the real actual
voter ID is
argument
pretty
is.
simple. And we could
Poor
go
people
back,
can't
and we should
afford
go
to
back
get
to all paper ballots, voter ID, same-day voting. You know, France did it. France had mail-in ballots, and it was
Same-day
terrible.
voting, no mail-in.
Anytime you
They
have
told us to
mail-in
mail them
ballots,
in
you're going to have
earlier.
massive cheating.
He told us to mail them
on
in
your
earlier.
elections. Anytime,
Jesus
but
Christ.
not just
Mixed
the
messaging,
presidential
man.
election. Anytime you have
Isn't that the whole point of them?
Earlier in this stream,
yeah.
he
Oh, yeah,
said
sure. It's the
mail
whole
in
point. That's
your
the whole
ballot.
point. They want to cheat. Yeah, they have to cheat because their policies are so bad that if they didn't cheat, they couldn't get elected. Who wants open borders? Who wants high taxes? Who wants high interest rates?
I do.
Who wants to not be able to use a gas stove?
I do.
Or have
Better
to
for our
drive an
whole
electric
planet.
car, which, you know, you have a
Yes,
4-hour drive,
better.
but the car only goes an
That's
hour
called
and a half.
progress,
because you
my
have
man.
to charge it.
Doesn't like progress.
The happiest moment for
Don't move
somebody in
forward.
an electric
Move
car is the
backward.
first 10 minutes. In other words, you get it charged, and now for 10 minutes. The unhappiest part is the next hour because you're petrified that you're not going to be found another charger. People, I'm saying if people, I'm not knocking electric cars, they're fine.
It tells you how
They're
much
fine.
time you have.
But if people want to buy a gasoline car or a hybrid, hybrids are pretty good actually, but they should be allowed to buy. They don't want to do any of this. So right now, California's in a big brownout because their grid is a disaster. The grid all over the country is
The Texas grid is a disaster, but we're not going to talk about that one.
And yet, they want to have in a very short period of time, millions and millions of cars going off that grid, essentially. It doesn't work.
So plug your car into a grid that's failing.
You should be able to buy an electric car. You know, electric cars could be fine if you drive short distances and you want to have, you know, whatever, and you have plug-ins everywhere you go. They could be fine. But you got to have gasoline cars. You got to have everything. Let people buy everything.
He's saying that
Now
on,
there's
on
the
Twitter
new
right
thing
now.
is your
Elon's going to
heating
have to
systems
shut
in
him
the
down.
house. They don't want you to have a modern-day heating system. They want you to use a heating system that will cost you at least $10,000 to buy and won't work very well. You know,
Burning
none
natural
of this
gas is
stuff
not a
works as well.
modern day
One of
system,
the things
my
they
man.
did with EPA is
Burning
you
fossil
have
fuels
states,
is not
many,
modern.
Many states, most of the states have so much water. You know, it comes out of heaven, right? The water pours down, and you have it. It's there. It's got to go wherever it goes, into the oceans, whatever.
I'm going to clip that for a science lesson. Science lessons with Donald Trump.
It's not like a big problem. Now, in some states, they have a problem. You know, you have some desert areas and all, and for that, it's okay. But they have sinks where no water comes out.
Sinks
You
where no
turn it
water
on,
comes
no water
out.
comes out. No water comes out of the shower. No water is allowed to go into the washing machine for your dishes or for your clothing. Or
No
what.
water.
And I avoided all
Joe
of that.
Biden's America, no
Wait,
water.
they have sinks where no water comes
Sure,
out?
you have restrictors. When I say no water, very little water. You
Very
want to wash
little,
your hands,
okay.
right?
Yeah.
And you've seen this, and you turn on the sink.
the
and
toilet thing
very
again, you're
little.
right.
Well, or you want to wash your beautiful hair, right? And
Joe Biden's America,
you
no
stand
water.
under a shower. Then the suds never go. The water comes out very slowly. I'm sure you've seen this. It usually
No,
takes
no
place
one's
in new
seen this.
hotels.
You're a
and new
lunatic.
homes.
Yeah, you take a drill and take the
They have
limiter out.
well, you can, but now they make it so you can't do that so easily.
Oh.
They have a restrictor.
They make it
It's
so you
called
can't
a
do that.
restrictor, and it restricts the water from coming out.
He's
so I
just
ended
making
all
things
of
up.
that, and you have to
None
see
of this
these,
is real.
They let the water come out. You know what people do? They wash their hands like 5 times longer, or in the washing machine they'll press for their
Chinese
let's
sinks,
say
you're right.
the dishwasher.
Chinese sinks.
They'll press it. Then they'll press it about 7 or 8 times.
Yeah.
They'll end up using more water, and it still won't be very good. I met with the head of Whirlpool. They were practically going out of business during my administration, and they said
Practically
to me
going out of
from
business.
Ohio, incredible, great state. I love
Just
Ohio.
make shit up.
They were really doing badly because people were dumping washing machines all over, mostly from South Korea, but also from China. And he was explaining it's just a terrible situation. I said, let me ask you, how's the quality? He says, we're better, but they are good enough quality. But, you know, of course he's going to say that. But, you know, they are better. He said,
So
"But
the
they
Chinese
don't-
ones are
They
better.
don't allow us. They're dumping these machines. They're cutting us in half. They're killing us. And on top of it, the government won't let us use water in our machines. I mean, he shows
let
me
us
like a
use
quarter of a bottle
water.
of water. That's supposed to be washing clothing. And I freed it all up, and I put tariffs on these countries that were selling and the machines coming into the country.
Bought one.
And that company went
2 or
from
3 years ago.
big,
No, I bought one
big,
2
all
years
the
ago.
washing machine companies, the big
Shitloads of
washing
water.
machines,
Lots of
dryers,
it.
they make all
Gallons
the
of it.
different
I'm looking
machines
right at him.
that do this kind of work,
He's out of his
including
mind.
dishwashers. And they went from a disaster area to being just thriving.
But
they,
can I ask
they
why,
love me in that part of Ohio.
Well, I bet they do, but why should EPA, no one at EPA was elected by anybody,
Yeah.
why do they have the power to decide how much water your washing machine uses?
You're making that up.
Congress in a democracy get to vote on that?
Yeah, you could say that.
You could say
they
that.
do
Or you
things
can
that
make
are
things up.
not very.
So how do you, that's my question, how do you, if you get elected again, go back to Washington, how do you keep the agencies under control? How do you keep FBI and CIA specifically under control?
The way you do it, like I fired Comey, that was a big deal. You know, a lot of people said, and I fired him very early. Somebody said, oh, I wish you would have fired him. There was a real question about firing him anyway. You understand, because, you know, when they have a 10-year term, there is a...
Why did he fire Comey? Because Comey didn't prosecute Hillary. Donald Trump is in favor of the FBI attacking his political opponents.
Question. I fired Comey. That was a great thing. If I didn't fire Comey, maybe I wouldn't be talking to you, or I'd be talking to you about real estate or something else other than politics, right? That was a coup, in my opinion. That was a very sick deal. That was the insurance policy. You remember the insurance policy? Oh, she's going to win, darling. She's going to win. But just in case she doesn't, we have an insurance policy. And insurance policy was what they were doing.
Conspiracy brain.
And we caught them.
Just
with that. That was a
brain.
very
All day, every
important tweet or whatever it was, text. It was a big deal. That was a big deal.
No, it wasn't. It's
the
nothing.
Insurance policy.
Literally nothing.
She's going to win 100 million to 1. That's not good odds. At least they gave me one, right? 100 million to 1.
He's out of his mind.
But just in case she doesn't win, we
Diseased.
have an insurance policy.
Brain.
And everybody said, that's strange. That's strange. But we caught all that because I fired Comey. Because when I fired Comey, it was like throwing a rock into a hornet's nest, into a nest of bees, and the place went crazy.
So when you were president, are you confident that you knew everything, say, CIA was doing around the world?
No, I'm not. It's a very interesting group of people. I had very good relationships, I thought, but I was a little surprised when I got out that, you know, things go on. Look, it's...
what were you surprised by?
I was surprised.
You
I
want
think
to
it's some
spill
of the
any state
people.
secrets real
I
quick?
was surprised that there was... I had a group of people. Look, we killed many, using the CIA, I have to say this,
state secrets.
very bad actors. We were very good at it. You look at Soleimani, you look at al-Baghdadi, bigger than Osama bin Laden. I mean, Osama bin Laden, but al-Baghdadi did ISIS, and he was rebuilding ISIS very strongly.
And that was the CIA that did that?
That was really us that did that.
Yeah.
Us.
That was really us that did that. And Soleimani was us that did that, not so much CIA.
Not the CIA.
But we did some very good work with the CIA. What I started, you know, when I looked at the 51 intelligence agents saying that was the laptop from hell was Russia disinformation, when I took a look at that.
Laptop from hell.
I said, that's a horrible thing. They knew it wasn't. They knew it was not. And by the way, you're talking about cheating on the election? McLaughlin and Fabrizio, great pollsters, they said a thing like that plus other things meant anywhere from 10 to 17% of the vote would change.
Whatever happened to Mike Pence? You've always been nice to Pence. I've
What?
never heard you criticize Pence. You've defended him in public many, many times. He's out there attacking you. What is that?
So Mike wants to run for president. You got to understand, in my opinion, Mike Pence had the absolute right to send the votes back to the legislature.
He didn't. You're anti-constitutional,
The Democrats
man.
and everybody said, you don't have the right. In other words, what I said, is he a
By-
human conveyor
according to
belt?
the law.
I mean, if he finds fraud in Pennsylvania, in Georgia, in any of these states, Arizona, he has to send them to Mitch McConnell, right? That's right, sir. Well, if he finds fraud, he has to? Yes, sir. I said, so he's a conveyor belt. Boom, put him in.
Yes.
I don't agree with that. And we had some lawyers, not all, we had some lawyers that said, no, you do have the right to send them back to the legislatures to be rechecked. Because if you looked at what went on
no
in Wisconsin,
intelligent
who,
person
by
said
the
that.
way, now
No
agree
intelligent
with me,
people said that.
Wisconsin has
Nobody.
been virtually, other than the fact they're not allowed to do
60
anything
trials.
statutorily.
You lost 60 trials.
But Wisconsin has
in court.
been,
You lost.
I mean, what they found is incredible. I mean, we won Wisconsin. But Mike Pence had the right, in my opinion.
No, he did not.
To send him back.
Do you ever talk to him now?
No, I haven't spoken to him in a long time. I was very disappointed in him. I didn't want to do what Thomas Jefferson did. Thomas Jefferson, it was Georgia.
I wonder where this is going.
And it was, hear ye, hear ye, the great state of Georgia is not capable or allowed to tabulate their votes. And Thomas Jefferson, who was the vice president, said, is Georgia sure that they cannot tabulate their votes? Georgia is sure. He didn't send him back and have him redo it. He said, we will keep the votes of the great state of Georgia for Thomas Jefferson and his president. I didn't ask him for that.
I have no idea what he's talking about.
But I thought that would be turmoil. I asked him to send him back to his legislature, to the legislatures, you know, in Wisconsin, let's say.
But why didn't he? I mean, you'd worked together for 4 years.
Apparently,
you're the
I don't watch
president, he's
enough
VP. You say you're
Facebook
aligned
memes
on everything.
to know what the hell
I
he's
think he
talking
got
about.
very bad advice. I really do. Now, let me tell you what happened. I sat there with a few people. I think his lawyer was in the room too. His lawyer was very much against it. There were other lawyers that felt you could do it. It was one of those things. You probably,
Right, and some
I
of
think
them
you
were
could have
liars and wrong.
I think you can always do something if you see fraud or if you see problems. But it's very interesting. So after the election was over, the rhinos got together with the Democrats and they redid the election, so you couldn't do it anymore. So then I called the people. I said, so in other words, you're saying I was right. You could do it. Yes, you could do it.
No.
In other words, they
none
took
of those things
the
happened.
Voting Act and they redid it so the vice president no longer has the power to do what I said he could do.
Right.
So when that
you were a
happened, I
liar.
said, wow. So
You were a criminal.
and, you know, you'd look some of these Democrats in the eye and they'd
snipped
say,
out
he
the-
has
the loophole.
absolutely no right to do it.
Right.
And immediately after the election, they met rhinos, could name them all, and Democrats, and they approved legislation that takes away the right of the vice president to do it. So
got
I
rid of the
said,
loophole.
so you're saying I was right.
No.
The vice president did have the right to do
They
it. And they
cleaned
said,
up the
yes, he did.
language.
So if you're saying they stole it from you last time, why wouldn't they do the same this time?
Oh, well, they'll try. They're going to be trying, yeah. But, and not only me, you know. Look, DeSantis is out. I think he's gonzo. He was at a level.
gonzo.
People have figured him out. He's gone. But if
He's
somebody
gonzo.
else got in, other than me, they'll go at him just as viciously as they did me. These people are sick. They will go after them. And a lot of people say they won't be able to hold up. I do get credit for holding up quite well, I must tell you. I think it's...
How do you do that? How do you get indicted, you know, every week and stay cheerful?
It's... I think it's a
cheerful
lot
looking guy
easier
right there.
because I'm so high in the polls, because it means the people get it. The people see it's a fraud. The people see it, like this horrible district attorney from just a little while ago, from essentially Atlanta, that's Fulton County.
From Atlanta, okay.
She said, basically, I don't have any right to challenge an election. Well, what about
That's not what she said
Stacey
at all.
Abrams? What about Hillary
She didn't say
Clinton?
that at
What
all.
about all
They
of
did
these
it the right way.
Democrats that are still challenging my election? The same people that
No,
are
they're
saying
not.
he's challenging an election challenged my election. And they did it with slates. They did it with all sorts of things. They were very bad about it. But basically, they're suing me, and they're saying, you don't have any right to challenge it. If you challenge an election, we're going to indict you and put you in jail.
That's not what they said.
So what they're doing is they've weaponized, and don't kid yourself, the DOJ and Biden and the whole group, they're watching all of this stuff. They love the local stuff. You know, the DA in Manhattan. Not only that, they put one of the DOJ top people into the Manhattan DA's office to run things. They don't even have a case against me. It's not even a case. Everyone says, even the Democrats say, you can't bring these cases. You have no case. The Attorney General or the District Attorney, Fannie Willis, in Atlanta, she's getting killed. Basically, she's saying Trump doesn't have the right
She's getting killed.
To criticize an election.
That's not
But
what she's saying.
You've been around long enough now. You've seen many elections criticized. I mean, Hillary Clinton goes crazy. Every time she talks, she says, he's not the president, Jimmy Carter said.
She does not
the
say that.
president.
They don't
Well,
say
I
that.
am the president. Hillary Clinton called me, by the way, at 3:02 in the morning to congratulate me the night of the election.
I don't believe
Did
that
her voice
happened.
crack?
Well, her voice was.
Oh, when he did win.
I
Yes.
won't get into that, but
What do you mean?
her voice was very different. Don't forget, they were all celebrating at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and I came home and I said, you know, I think we won. I felt we won because the rallies are so big. You know, we'd go to Wisconsin.
Because the rallies are
and
so
we'd
big.
go
That's what
to,
matters, is who has the biggest rallies.
Georgia. We'd go
Not
to
who gets the
different
most
states.
votes.
In
No.
Michigan,
Don't count votes. Count
we'd
rally
have
attendance.
rallies. In Pennsylvania, we had 58,000 people in Butler. And I said, you know, how are we losing this? How do you have a rally where you have from 50 to 100,000 people, many of them? You know, I did 7 a day for a couple of days. That's a lot. That's a lot. These are
7
big
rallies a
too,
day.
and I didn't hold
That
back.
sounds
I didn't say,
unlikely.
let's make them little, let's do abbreviations, right? But they challenged the stuff.
Yeah.
Hillary called me up and
Legally.
conceded. Now,
And
the
then she
word is that
conceded. Right.
Obama said you have to do that. But she called up and totally conceded. But now, you know, every time you see her on television, she's saying, like, well, she's challenging the election.
Do you think
So that would mean that she should be indicted, but that would mean also that Stacey Abrams in Georgia should be indicted.
She did things
'cause
legally,
She still thinks she won
properly.
the
She didn't
election for
invent a
governor.
RICO
She still thinks that.
conspiracy.
She's never recanted.
This fucking guy.
And
Do you think Stacey Abrams will be indicted for that?
No, of course not. She won't be. The
She did
Democrats
things
don't get
legally,
indicted for things like that. They don't get
properly,
impeached.
through the
No,
correct
it's
channels.
a different thing.
Is-
With that being
She
said,
didn't attack the
I had great
government.
support when they did impeachment hoax #1 and impeachment hoax #2. Jim Jordan, the House was fantastic. And actually the Senate was very good for me, other than, you know, Mitch McConnell. I think if he had, it's too bad I endorsed him. He was begging, he was going to lose that race, and I endorsed him, and he ended up winning the race because of my endorsement. He was down, he was going to lose to Amy McGrath. She was $90 million in cash, all set to go. She was leading by 3. He was going down. I did him a favor, and then 3-4 months later, he really wanted to impeach me. He's a bad guy. But if you look at what's going on politically, it's so interesting. The level of loyalty is different in
Why is he
politics
sitting
than
like
it is
that?
in
He's so
normal
weird.
life, I will say. With that being said, I've had great loyalty also. But the House was fantastic. The Senate was very good. You know, they overrode
sit like a goblin.
Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell, in my opinion, was trying to get senators to impeach me, especially for the second one. And on the first one, he acted very, very slow. He should have gone much faster. But Mitch McConnell wanted to, and the senators went up to him, guys that are subservient to him because he gives money. You know, he gives them money. He gives them a lot of money. He raises some money and he gives it to them, and therefore they do what he
Sure
said.
does
That's the
hate
only
that.
form of leadership he's got.
So last question, if you're elected president again, what's your number one priority? When you ran last time, you said, I will build a wall. This time, your
fire Jack
bottom
Smith.
line top promise to the
So
country.
you can do numerous things at the same time.
Fire
Of
Jack
course,
Smith.
but let's say number one is a border and taking hundreds of thousands of criminals that have been allowed into our country and getting them out and bringing them back to their country,
Singing the
Guatemala.
hits.
By the way, not only the 4 countries that we think of as neighbors, all over the world. Last month, we had 149 countries represented. Think of it. We had 149 countries represented, Tucker, from places that many people never even heard of, coming into our country. And they're coming in from mental institutions,
Sounds
and they're
like
coming
freedom.
in from prisons. They're
Sounds
emptying
great.
out their prisons all over South America. They're emptying out their mental institutions. Terrorists are pouring into our country. We have no idea. I had the
Terrorists, huh?
strongest border in the history of our country, and I built almost 500 miles of wall. You know, they
That
like
is
to say, oh,
worthless.
was it less? No. I built
Actually,
500
it's worse than
miles.
worthless.
In
It's
fact, if you
expensive
check with the
and useless.
authorities on the border, we built almost 500 miles of wall.
Expensive, useless.
And I had another 200 that I was going to build. You know, it's like
a
water.
waste of
It
money
seeks.
that makes his
And
fans
we're going to
feel
build
good.
another 200. We built it. It was all set to go. All they had to do was install it. It would have taken 3 weeks. And that's when I found out. I said, I think these people actually want open borders.
Yes,
The
that would be
first
great.
thing I would do would be
Good for you. Good for
I
me.
would seal up the border good and tight, except for people that want to come in legally.
Do you think we're moving towards civil war?
There's tremendous passion and there's tremendous love. You know, January 6th was a very interesting day because they don't report it properly.
No, they don't report it properly.
I believe it was the largest crowd I've ever spoken before. And you know some of the crowds I've spoken before. And like July 4th on the mall, I think they had 1 million people there. But I think that the biggest crowd I've ever spoken before was on January 6th. And people that were in that crowd a very, very small group of people, and we said patriotically and peacefully, peacefully and patriotically, right? Nobody ever says that. Go peacefully and patriotically.
Go peacefully attack the country.
People that were in that crowd that day, very small group of people, went down there, and then there are a lot of scenarios that we can talk about, but people in that crowd said it was the most beautiful day they've ever experienced. There was love in that crowd. There was love and unity. I have never seen
love and unity as they
such
attacked the
spirit
Capitol.
and such passion and such
Passion,
love.
such love.
And I've also never seen simultaneously and from the same people such hatred of what they've done to our country.
So do you think it's possible that there's open conflict? We seem to be moving towards something.
I don't know, because I don't know what it, I can say this. There's a level of passion that I've never seen. There's a level of hatred that I've never seen, and that's probably a bad
And you
combination.
stoke both of them in these deplorables.
Donald Trump, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Very much.
Thank you.
That is a bad combination, by the way.
Bad combination.
You're the one doing that combination. You're the one telling them that they need to be passionate about these things that aren't real and that they need to hate the other people. You're the one causing this problem. Anyway, glad we watched that tonight. I appreciate you sticking around, KBP. It was, I wanted to bow out after the other one, but it was only 40 minutes long. Kept me going for another hour. All right. I should maybe have Thomas back on Saturday. I'm not entirely sure. So if you're still watching now, as usual, throw stuff in the chat and I'll take a look at it. Join the Discord, send me links, and perfect timing, yeah. And if and that's it. I've been Waldo, and maybe you'll find me again later. Have a good day. Bye. Good night.